welcome to the 421st episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big, awesome supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. We are back. We're looking at Hobgoblin, talking about the early Hobgoblin stories. We're still at the point where readers had no idea what Hobgoblin's identity was. So it was one of my favorite story arcs or characters in Spider-Man comics. So we're going back. We're getting close. We're almost there, and then we can move on and never talk about Hobgoblin at least for a while. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. I almost said 13. That is ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. What do we have this week? You can kind of probably figure it out. If you've been listening regularly, you know what's happening. The movie feature is A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. Definitely have some interesting things to say. I was really intrigued with this movie. I wouldn't say it was like a perfect movie, but there was some cool things in there. We got some great actors. The execution was kind of interesting, and it seems, I haven't checked the update with the Rotten Tomato score, but it seems like critics don't really like it, but that doesn't really say anything. So I definitely have stuff to say about that, so that's good. Then we got Peacemaker, Alien Earth, Twisted Metal, Dexter Resurrection, the final episode of hopefully the season for Dexter Resurrection, and comics and news. I don't know if there's any. I don't have any updates. So I guess I just say, did I cover everything? There's probably some comics that I missed. We'll see how many I have. And but yeah, it's been another week. Oh, I guess here's my little excuse. I am doing like a class, like kind of like once a month at like the county office of education, and it's fun stuff. It makes for a long day. But let's just get into it so we're not sitting here all day, so we can do other things as well. With the news, I guess I'll start with, just jump into, I don't know the whole backstory of it, and I haven't looked it up, and I'm not, it's could be a little dry, but I don't know why people are bidding or wanting to bid on Warner. I mean, obviously, they want to bid on Warner Brothers because they want to make money. It's a big corporate. But I don't know why it's in a situation where people are going to bid on it. It's not like, Nike shoes, like, oh, people want to bid on this, and this person wants to bid. McDonald's wants to bid on Nike shoes. It's weird that this is happening because, last I think I reported is Paramount was preparing some deal, and now the latest is like people are saying, well, it looks like Netflix wants to bet on them or bid on them, and I don't know is why is Warner Brothers in such a state that people can bid on it, and I don't understand how it works because it feels like Warner Brothers has gone through a lot of changes. There's a whole Warner Brother Discovery, and then I don't even know who it is now because then I think someone else switched it, and it's just weird. And my main concern is, what does this do for all the not subsidiary, but all like the smaller companies? Because what I know personally is when things were changing, there's a lot of people at DC Comics, they weren't sure if they were still going to have a job because a lot of times when these changes happen, some positions become redundant, and then they're like, okay, we're going to let you go, and I think sometimes there's an ulterior motive. This is where I ramble on into my educated guess area, where sometimes if someone is making too much money, then maybe they weigh the options of like, okay, how much of an asset are they, or can we just replace them with someone cheaper? Unfortunately, that's how it is a lot of times. Based on what I've seen, I feel like, and what I've seen like close hand with the GameSpot and Comic Vine, all this stuff, I feel like sometimes the evil corporate or not necessarily evil, but the corporate overlords, they don't necessarily care about the smaller pieces. They're just looking at the big pictures. Their job, I guess, is to make as much money as possible. And they don't really look at the individual talent. They're just looking at what will make this entity, this business entity, continue to work. And while you may have someone who is a big asset, they may weigh into like, well, they're making this much money, or, we're paying them this much. They can probably be replaced, and, maybe you'll have to have a little lag, and then it sucks. It is just cold and uncaring, and, from what I've seen, I feel like I got out of Comic Vine at the right time, because I don't remember how long shortly after I left, things, it like traded hands, because I think CBS and sold it off. I don't even remember, Red Venture, someone, Fandom. I can't even keep track of how many times it's changed hands, and that, again, that's just the nature of business. And I would see, like on social media, like someone's like, oh, yeah, if anyone knows has a gig, I need a new job. And it sucks, because, some of the people I had worked with in the same building, or at least at the same site, or, similarly close by, and that they're capable of a lot of like awesome things, and they were just let go, and it sucks. So I don't know if I could ever go back to that, if I want to. Maybe no one would want me. I don't know, but so it's just it's a tough thing. So good luck to everyone involved, and then from a like selfish thing for us as consumers, we would want to hope that any changes wouldn't, ruin what we are enjoying. All of a sudden, what changes is new people going to do? Because there's always like the rumors like Warner Brothers is going to cancel all DC comics because comics aren't making enough money or whatever. So it's crazy. Rumor. Some people are saying like, the Young Avengers are going to be in Avengers Doomsday. We're going to have Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan and Cassie Lang. All the actors are going to, Haley Steinfeld and all them. It would make sense, but now we're getting to this point where how many people are going to be in this movie? It would make sense that you're going to bring all these if something big's coming, but then are you going to have these people in the movie for just like 2 minutes or something? It's just to be so crammed, and then it just turns into like cameo, and that's cool. And I feel like if you got a big shared universe like this, you should try to do cameos when you can. But it just, I don't know, it seems weird, and we'll have to see. There's been nothing official. They haven't mentioned that any of the Young Avengers will be in it, any of the actors will be in it. So I did see, I don't know if it was another rumor or something like that. I didn't read because, there's nothing official, but I saw something that they're going to try to hide a lot of like big names, and, just which I hope they do, and I hope they can, because I want to watch it and be like, holy crap, I didn't think they were going to bring this character in here or whatever. I think that would be great. There's rumors like, oh, and I don't know about this, but this I saw that like Chris Evans, he's going to be Captain America again. He is back as Captain America, not just as someone else. But he has said many times that no, he is not going to be Captain America. He's done with that. He did it, and he wrapped it up. And there's who knows. I don't know. James Gunn was asked, or he answered about. It's like, how do you feel about casting a Wonder Woman that's taller than Batman and Superman? And his response is like, not good. He's like, I don't know where I'd find an accomplished and talented actress that's 6'5" or taller. Because like David Cornsweet, he's 6'4". So they find, I don't know. I think that's, if you try narrowing it down like that, you are limiting what you could get. So it should be someone big, but you need the talent. You need, there's lots of other things. So sometimes you have to make compromises. So you look at like Hugh Jackman, if they were just looking at 5'3" actors to play Wolverine, who, there's no telling what we'd get. So, what about Marvel Zombies? So, there's a new Marvel Zombies comic that came out, but that's a different thing. We got this Marvel Zombies show that's coming on Disney Plus. and I think I could be wrong off the top of my head, and I don't feel like pausing and looking it up because it just feels so disingenuous, whatever. Although it would be nice for me to actually talk factual, right? But I have the 24th in my head, and they're already talking about, could there be a season 2 of Marvel Zombies? And the main thing is it depends on how season 1 does. So there's some exact whatever, I forget who particular said that they need people to subscribe to Disney Plus and to watch, season 1. I also saw that it's supposed to be kind of like an extension of What If season 1, episode 5, that kind of started things off. I'm trying to remember if I watched that episode. I could probably check on my Disney Plus account. I don't remember how much of Marvel Zombies. I think I did watch the Marvel Zombies, at least the first season. I may have seen all of season 1. I don't think I saw any of season 2. But if it's just like continuing, I don't know. My big problem with this, and this is what really annoys me, and this is why I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about it on the podcast, but it's supposed to be a 4-episode event thing, but they are dropping all 4 episodes at once. If you're dropping all 4 episodes at once, why are you making them 4 separate episodes? Why don't you just make it a complete movie? I don't understand the need to do that. And here we go again. If you're looking at, well, people like to binge, then they can binge when all 4 episodes drop. And I guess maybe the thing is they look at the numbers and they want to see like what are, opening weekend, whatever you want to call it, premiere weekend numbers versus, they don't want to wait, 4 weeks later and look at the number. It's just, I hate it so much. I think it's annoying. The problem though, if they want, they need people to subscribe and watch, that's going to be a problem because there are a lot of people boycotting Disney. There are a lot of people like canceling their Disney Plus or Hulu, all those accounts because of the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing. And, I don't really want to get into politics and stuff, but as you may have heard, Jimmy Kimmel was fired from ABC, and his show was suspended indefinitely. So there's like, yeah, you're done. And the thing is, I feel like I talked about this. Did I talk about this last week? He made a comment about, I think it was about the shooter for the Charlie Kirk, right? And I looked at what he said. I'm trying to think if I actually saw a clip or not. But what he said wasn't anything, I don't think it was anything one way or the other. He's like saying, but so somehow there must be pressure, and this is where people are outraged. It sounds like it's censorship because there's a whole thing. Well, what about the First Right Amendment? He should be able to make a comment, and it wasn't like. That's what I'm thinking. With the Robin, or not the Robin, with the Jason Todd thing. So it had nothing to do with like Jason Todd, where I think the writer said something like really vile about like, that's good, or type got what it deserved type of thing. I don't know if it was something like this. Jimmy Kimmel didn't say anything really like horrific or bad or anything like that. He just kind of made this comment, and again maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I misread something or missed something, but then he's just let go because of that. And there's obviously Donald Trump has been commenting how much he hates Jimmy Kimmel or the talk shows because they're always poking fun at him. But the talk show hosts, they kind of poke fun at everyone. That is the whole thing. It is called satire. They're constantly looking at the headlines and making jokes. They are jokes. They're not reporting news and trying to make it as this is news. And he's kind of commented about that they're going to be fired and they're going to be fired and everything like that. And so it's like, well, the president of ABC is giving into this, and they're kind of like, that shouldn't happen. There's so many people. There's like SAG after whatever, the actors, they made a statement. Everyone, there's so many people in Hollywood saying that this is not okay, and even Tatiana Maslany, She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, she's like, yeah, people should cancel and boycott their Disney Plus account. And this is coming from an actress who has a potential of possibly working for Disney Plus again. If they, they're at some point they could say, yeah, we're going to do a season 2 of She-Hulk, or hey, do you want to be in Avengers Doomsday or Avenger whatever, some movie? But she's like, it's like, nope, this is horrible. She is taking a stand rather than saying, well, I can't say anything because it might risk my job. She's like, no, screw that. I don't think that this is right. And it's not what it comes down to, and what I don't think a lot of people, because I'm still seeing some people who are like, oh, Jimmy Kimmel got what he deserved of this. It's not necessarily about Jimmy Kimmel necessarily, and it's not necessarily about what specifically was said or about the politics if you're on this side or this side. What it is, it's just blatant censorship. And that is the bigger deal, that, he made a statement and then he was let go. I saw someone on Facebook, actually someone I went to school with, they were saying how they posted on their page and like a family member unfollowed them or whatever. But then I saw him like commenting to someone else. He's like, well, Jimmy Kimmel is in his contract and he went against it. So if you go against what your boss can fire you if you don't do something. But no, I seriously doubt in his contract it says you can't make this statement, you can't talk about this, you can't upset this person. So no, there is nothing that would, and it's one thing if you're like an employee at will or whatever, where you don't need an excuse. It's just it's not cool. So again, regardless of where you stand politically, this has nothing to do with this is people just giving into what one person, the pressure that they're putting on. And it'd be one thing if Jimmy Kimmel or whoever is like let's go after this or let's do this. Like, no, that's not what was said. Oh, and I was saying how like Disney stock has gone down, in the past few days because of people boycotting, and so that could affect Marvel Zombies season 2. So maybe I don't talk about Marvel Zombies because, one, I hate the fact that they dropped all 4 episodes, and 2, there may not be a season 2, so what's the point? And 3, this is ridiculous. It's censorship. I don't know. So yeah, we'll see about that. And then let's just continue with Disney. We got like Tron Ares. Deadline, I think, said that it looks like it's estimated to make $44 million opening weekend. So that's not bad. $44 million is decent. The problem is the budget is reportedly somewhere like between 150 and 200 plus million. So if that's the case, 44 million is not great compared, for opening with that. And apparently Tron Legacy made about that, around 44 million. I forget what the exact number was. Its opening weekend, that was in 2010. And so ticket sales are higher now. It should be making more than a movie 15 years ago made. 15? Yeah. And Tron Legacy made 409.9 million. That was the total. If Tron Ares is 200 million, and if it can make 400 million, that's like barely double. And it needs to make 3 times as much. So I don't know. I'm kind of excited about Tron Ares. I really don't know much about it. I've avoided like anything. I think I may have seen like parts of a teaser trailer at least. I think one of the things is I don't know how big Tron is. There's people that are probably like into Tron, but I mean, like Tron Legacy did not. I feel like it didn't do super great. 400 million. I feel like it wasn't like a huge, whatever smash hit. The other thing is, you got Jared Leto, and there are a lot of people that are not necessarily Jared Leto fans, and part of it is I feel like he alienates a lot of people. He does whether it's his method acting or whatever, I don't know. I mean, you hear like all the stories about like Suicide Squad, and how it's just, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like he really gets into the characters, and that is part of his craft. That's supposed to make him, a better actor. He's like serious. He gets so immersed in it. But then when you hear stories, it almost seems like you're taking it too far. Just to, I don't know. What do I know, right? So we'll see. I just hope it's good, but maybe people are going to boycott that because it's Disney. What about Catwoman? There's talk, rumor that maybe there'll be like a Catwoman series between, and this is the part like, I don't know about this. They're saying like between the Batman 2 and a possible Batman 3 movie, the Batman 3. Will there be a the Batman 3? I mean, it feels like it's taking so long to do the Batman 2, and I don't really know. I feel like despite reading a bit about it, when like, oh, this is happening, I don't know what the delay was. What has caused the problems with the Batman 2? And part of it was it because of the writer's strike. I don't know, but yeah. So we'll see if there's a Catwoman series. And I think there was a comment that no, Kristen Milani will not appear in the Batman 2, which is unfortunate. But I guess if she's locked up, spoiler, but we'll have to see. Hopefully we'll see her again because, she won an Emmy. So that was great. And the only thing, I didn't watch the Emmys. My wife and daughter did, but I just looked at some updates, and Severance got at least 2, right? Britt Lower and what's his name? Mr. Milchek. So that was cool that they won. Oh, another rumor, Alien Earth. Some of you are saying like, "Yep, season 2 is happening. It's going to happen," which is great because I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying this show a lot more than I thought. When I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, an Alien TV series, Alien TV or like Alien show on Earth," hence the name. I was like, I don't know about that, but strangely, I'm really really enjoying it. Because I am not a super big fan of the movies, so I don't know. Daredevil, Born Again. Aren't they renaming that? I thought they were dropping the Born Again. But it came out, the word came out, is that it's renewed for season 3, even though season 2 hasn't even come out yet. So that's great that Disney's like, yep, we're going to do this. And it's also kind of interesting because you look at all the other shows. Are there any shows, and I could be totally forgetting something. I mean, aside from like What If, are there any like live action Marvel Studios shows that have a second season? I mean, I guess there's Loki. Loki has 2 seasons, but what else? So nothing. I don't think it has 3 seasons. I feel like I'm totally forgetting something, and and what's going to happen is like later or like before I post this, I'm gonna be like, you're such an idiot. There's this, but yeah. So that's great. If 3 seasons of Daredevil, keep it going, keep the quality there. There was an image released for Star Wars Starfighter, Ryan Gosling. It's interesting, and I'm trying to remember what I read about it, but because it was like him and some kid. Is that his kid? Because then that kind of changes the thing. If he's supposed, I don't know if he's supposed to be like a scoundrel character, but if you're a scoundrel character with a kid, that kind of changes things a little bit because that's adding more responsibility. That he's taking care of his kid as well, whether it's his kid or some other kid. But I'm trying to remember what was said about it. But it looks like he's on some sort of water world, and you can see like the outfit he's wearing. Yeah, I think that's cool. Mix things up because we had Camino, with all that water, but it would be interesting to see something else. So okay, and then I think the last bit of news, and it's not really news, but it was news to me. I totally missed it. Or I had no idea that like John Cena was not the first choice for Peacemaker. And that okay, that's like, okay, yeah, no kidding, because they probably wrote the movie or the line and then people tried out. Apparently, no. Apparently, Peacemaker was written specifically for someone else. That James Gunn wrote it for someone else, and then it didn't work out. Who am I talking about? You probably know. Apparently, Peacemaker was written for Dave Bautista. Because he was talking about, I forgot where I was probably on a podcast, right? Everyone's talking on a podcast, not on my podcast. But he was saying that it was written for him, but he couldn't do it because he was doing Army of the Dead, and there was like all this logistics. It didn't work out. He actually says it was probably a blessing that happened, that he couldn't do it. He's like, he said that he couldn't do it the way John Cena did it. And he's like, he was perfect for that role. So that's cool. And I have to agree, Dave Bautista, he can do some cool things and he mixes things up. He's not just Drax. He's great as Drax. He's done a couple other I'm trying to think if it was like that Glass Onion. I think he changed things up a little bit there. He did something else, I thought. But yeah, I'm trying to think, could he do Peacemaker like John Cena, or not like him? But I don't know, maybe. But it's hard to imagine that because John Cena, he is Peacemaker. When you watch the show, and so yeah, that would be interesting. So I had no idea about that, and I don't know if I'm just like late to the party finding it out. But yeah, there you go. And you are not late to this party because we are just getting started. There's a lot more podcasts coming up, but that is the news for the week. With comics, let's see, at Image Comics, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot this week, which kind of helps me out because I don't feel as bad, for having read everything. There was G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe number, what number was this? Number 11. This was a good issue. So you can see on the cover, we got the continuation of the Major Blood versus Baroness thing with CoverGirl, in the mix. Basically, they went to Paris. Baroness went to Paris. CoverGirl's kind of like babysitting her in a way. And the idea is Baroness wanted to just kind of see her parents. But then Major Blood got wind of somehow, and he's like threatening Baroness's parents. Her parents have no idea what's going on with Baroness and everything like that. Major Blood has a big beef with Baroness because he lost his eye because of her. She stabbed him in the eye, and he wants take her eye out in return. And he's basically like, let me take your eye and your parents will be safe. But they're fighting because first he in previous issues recently, he had Baroness and CoverGirl fighting each other. It was supposed to fight to the death, and blah blah blah. So it's interesting seeing Baroness and Major Blood fight. At some points, I feel like oh man, Major Blood or Baroness, she should be holding her own better because there's some times where she's like really on the rope. But it's pretty interesting. And while they're fighting, CoverGirl's like, okay, you keep him occupied. I'll go make sure your parents are safe. And Major Blood had this guy Raptor. I'm trying to remember. And I could have looked this up, but I don't really remember Raptor from the original comics or the cartoon. Maybe I'm trying to think if there was like a toy, or maybe I'm just thinking of someone else, just like some accessory, but yeah, I don't really know. So CoverGirl needs to try to figure her way out, and can she get, because they're in Paris, can she find their way out of the tunnels that they're in and get there in time? But then the other thing that's also cool about this is so Clutch became aware of a Transformer. He's driving this Jeep that is a Transformer and everything like that, and he's been kind of keeping it a secret. And so it felt like this is what I've been kind of waiting for, because this is supposed to be in the shared Energon universe or whatever. And I'm like, there's the whole stuff with Duke seeing stuff, and it's like in the Transformers comics, which I'm behind on that, but I feel like it doesn't really fit together because in Transformers they're like all over the place, but like in G.I. Joe, it's everyone's questioning is like, are they even real? But it's like, yeah. So we get a little more follow up with that, which was pretty cool. So I enjoyed that. There was Exquisite Corpses number 5, and I think the trade paperback came out too as well. So you should definitely be reading this series. This is the story. This is a series where there's 13 families, right? And they're all fighting for control of the country. So one of these people, one of these groups, families, they're the real ones in charge. It's not the president. It's not the government. They're all just puppets. So they do these competitions I don't remember if it's every 2 years or 5 years. And basically they purchase a small town, and then each family has an assassin, and it's like the last survivor wins type of thing. And so we get all these crazy characters, and they're just trying to kill everyone. And So it's something, and I guarantee I will not be surprised that at some point we're going to hear about like a series of this. I mean, maybe a movie. I think it would be better as a series, so you can really get into the detail versus just doing like a 2-hour movie, which isn't. How many issues is that going to cover? I don't want to do the whole story arc or whatever in one movie. So hopefully we'll get more of that. There was I Hate Fairyland 44, which I'm still majorly behind on that. This Ends Tonight, number 3. I did read 2 like a week or 2 after it came out. I didn't talk about it. And so now 3 is out. And this is just a weird series. I feel like I kind of missed something because like with the second one, I was like, wait, these aren't the same character. There's different characters. But you should check it out. It's Jerry Duggan. So obviously if you've read any Jerry Duggan comics, he's a great writer, and he's like really consistent. He always gives you a great story. And it's so varied, and he doesn't just do the same type of stories or the same type of characters. Kind of like everything he does is just like different. He's just brilliant, And I would say, he's obviously not the only one, but I would say like Rick Remender. He's another one that comes to mind. I look at these guys. Every time I see there's a new series by some of these guys, I'm just like wow. It's like, what are we gonna get this time? Because you never know, and that is what I feel. It's amazing that we're doing it. Even we look at like the Ghost Machine books, like all the Jeff John comics. I've been a Jeff Johns fan for a while, and you just look at all those books, like Geiger, Redcoat. It's like they're all different. Hyde Street. They're not all the same thing. So it's great that we have some fun and exciting comics, and it's fun and exciting for me because I sometimes question, because there's these other books. I'm like, I am not enjoying this book. And sometimes I feel bad as I'm doing the podcast because I feel like I'm being so negative about some books. And sometimes I'm like, should I just like stop talking about comics? Have I gotten to the point where I just no longer enjoy them? And then sometimes I wonder, it's like, is it me? It's not you, it's me. Is it just that, are people enjoying these books like immensely? And for whatever reason, I'm just not? So I don't know. It's just some books. It feels like it's just like a difference in quality. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm obviously keep talking about comics for now. I'm at Marvel, Amazing Spider-Man, number 12. This I don't know how much to spoil. So last issue 11, we got some answers because it's like, what's going on with Spider-Man? So Spider-Man fought this Hellgate character, which it was kind of lame. This big, supremely powerful character. It was this huge fight, and he kind of got his butt kicked and everything like that. So then, Spider-Man wasn't around for a while, and we see Peter. I think he had like a foot cast on, and I don't know if his arm was in a sling or something like that. And part of it is he got caught in the rubble during the fight or something like that. But then Spider-Man starts appearing again, and he's being pretty violent. We got Shocker like return, and he's kind of got a crew like Shocker, the Shockettes. I don't remember what they're called. And Spider-Man just like, I think he just grabbed both his wrists, like crunch, like just broke his wrists, and to shatter his shocker devices. And so it's like, wow, Spider-Man is being hardcore. Maybe it's after getting defeated or just he's ticked off. But then we also, it's like, wait, Spider-Man's, Peter's spending a lot of time at work, so we get some answers. And then not only do we get some answers, we get to, like, this other development too. It's like, what the heck is going on? So in this issue, without getting to specifics like what all that means, because hopefully you're reading, you can see why do we have Silk, Spider-Boy, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, and Araña? They're all attacking Spider-Man. And the reason why, so these are all like Spider-Man's friends, Peter's friends, and they're like, something's going on with Spider-Man. Why is he being so violent? That's not like him. So part of it, they're like, is this even Spider-Man? What did this person do with Spider-Man? Why is he acting like this? So they all kind of confront him, and it's a interesting interaction because
Spider-Man versus all these characters. Is it Spider-Man? Is it not Spider-Man? If you're reading, you know. If you're not reading, you need to read so you can find out. So I enjoyed that. I'm glad this book is fun because it was kind of dragging for a little bit. Deadpool and Wolverine number 9. A part of me wishes I was reading this. A part of me wishes I would want to read this, I guess I should say. I never got past the second issue, and I'm looking at this cover. It's kind of cool cover. I really dig that art. And see who did this cover? Joshua Cassara and Guru Effects. So we have Wolverine, Deadpool side profile, and then Apocalypse. What are they doing together? It's like I thought Strife was in this, but no. So, but then a friend of mine's reading it, and he's like, "Why am I reading this?" And I'm like, "Why are you reading this?" Because I stopped at issue 2. I don't even think I finished issue 2. I don't know. Whenever Strife appeared, I'm like, "Nope." I was like, "No." Fantastic Four number 3. Still, oh my God! Still One World Under Doom. This is like the longest running story arc. It feels like. Because it started with the vampire stuff, at the end of that, and then it took a while for Doom to put his plan in motion. But oh my gosh, still, and it's basically Fantastic Four are trying. Everyone's trying to fight Doom, but Doom, is he cheating or not? He's kind of using his magic stuff to anytime he gets defeated, he resets time. He's like, okay, you're gonna like untie my shoe and I'm gonna trip and let's go back in time, reset that. I'm gonna wear Velcro shoes or whatever. So he's constantly doing this, and can they come up with a way to outsmart him? And because Doom is very smart, but it's just like, oh my gosh, Doom, you suck. Does that make him a more formidable character that he's used? Being the sorcerer supreme, using all this magic and sorcerer power. Because he's not doing things on his own. He's using all this, whatever, weapon, or not weapons, but like all these other abilities. But then you can say, well, he was able to gain these abilities or earn or whatever, master, so that adds to him. So maybe he deserves to use these abilities because he was able to finagle and get, I don't know. But it's just like, Doom, you suck. And I used to, Doom was one of my favorite villains. I thought he was cool, but I'm just so tired of him. We got a Hulk. I look at this cover of the Hulk, and nothing but the art, but I just feel like, man, there's just so much going on. We got the Hulk, looks like all tied up, and we got Betty. I do not like Betty in this. I don't even know what you call her in this bird talon. Ugh. I can't read that. And it just bothers me. And I guess I should say it more often, but man, I feel like I should go back. Maybe I should revisit some of Peter David's Hulk run. Maybe I'm going to do that. I don't know how that'll be, but I just love. I'm a huge Smart Hulk fan. When he merged them, like Banner and Hulk's like personality, and then the whole it was just such a great time. That's when we had Dale Keown and. Who else? There's someone else. I'm just drawing a blank, but yeah, I can't get into this. Magic number 10. I see Magic and Moonstar, Danny. So, and then looking at the credits page, that other kid. I don't know. Hopefully someday I'll start reading that. Deadpool and Batman number 1. So I don't really know how this works. So this is put out by Marvel. Is there going to be like a Batman Deadpool comic? I don't know. Are there going to be other things? Because all I know is there's like a million covers, and so I'm seeing all these other pairing. I'm like, is there going to be more than one, or is it just Deadpool and Batman? I don't know, because in this is it was close to like 60 pages. It's a oversized book. And the main story is Zeb Wells and Greg Capullo, with Tim Townsend does the ink and Alex Sinclair does the colors. So Greg Capullo art, Greg Capullo back doing Batman, Greg Capullo with Alex Sinclair's color. I mean, oh my gosh, it's so great. And then we got Batman and Deadpool, and it's just I'll mention you got Joker thrown in there as well. So I enjoyed it. I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, what is Zeb Wells going to do? Because I feel like sometimes Zeb Wells does things really great, and sometimes it's like, okay, it's not quite for me. But Zeb Wells, he is a funny guy as well, and I think he does a good job balancing, serious Batman with annoying and funny Deadpool. So it was just it was a really, really interesting mix of the two. The story, there weren't layers to it, and there shouldn't be layers because you're talking Batman and Deadpool. It's not like what can you expect? But it was a good story. And then that wasn't all. So we had that main interaction between the two, and I don't know if there'll be more, but then. After you read the first story, then you kind of get like this table of contents, all these other things. I'm like, holy crap. I was like, how many stories are in this book? Because then we got Captain America and Wonder Woman. And this is by Chip Zdarsky, Terry Dodson, and Rachel Dodson. And this was a really, really cool story because it kind of carries over time. And, it goes back to like World War II and, going after Hitler and stuff like that. And then you just see like moments in history, and what's cool about this is we kind of have like this merged Marvel DC universe where they coexist. With the Deadpool Batman, there's Deadpool is not, these two don't always exist in the same universe, so there's a reason for that. But this Captain America Wonder Woman, you see other like big moments, like I'll say that there's like the Crisis on Infinite Earths, there's like a reference to that, and so I thought that was cool. We have a Jeff and Crypto, Jeff the Land Shark, and Crypto. This is by Kelly Thompson and Guri Hiro. I love Kelly Thompson's writing. I say that she's amazing. She's another one. I should have mentioned her before. You see Kelly Thompson's name on a book, it's going to be good. She does such an amazing job with everything that she does, and she has also the same thing. Her writing is very like you don't always know what you're going to get from her. And Guri Hiro, I love Guri Hiro's art. And that I feel like whenever I see someone else drawing Deadpool, part of my heart is just like dies a little bit because I feel like Guri Hiro should be the only one drawing Deadpool or Gwenpool because it's so good. So Jeff the Land Shark, I mean it's just a silly story, but you got Jeff and Crypto, so what more could you want there? Then there's Daredevil and Green Arrow. This is by Kevin Smith. And at first I'm like, oh, here we go. But Kevin Smith has written really great Daredevil and Green Arrow comics in the past. So that is cool. And Adam Kubert does the art. Frank Martin does the colors. And then there's a Rocket Raccoon Green Lantern. This one, I didn't really love this story so much. This is by Al Ewing and Duke Ruan. And then there is an Old Man Logan and Batman The Dark Knight Returns, written, penciled, and inked by Frank Miller, with colors by Alex Sinclair. I didn't care for that story. It's just okay. And then there's a logo. Let's just be wait. I don't know if did I skim through that logo? I didn't even notice that it's Lobo, and I don't know what the mix was. Enter logo. This is by Ryan North and Ryan Segment. Maybe I need to go back and read that. So it was fun. But like I said, I don't really know much about it. Is there going to be like a issue 2? Because like something with some of these last couple stories, I was like, that was kind of fast, and it's like, wait, what's going to happen next? Okay, then there was a Marvel Zombies comic, and I feel like I was kind of skimming through this one just to try to read as much as I could, and it was like I'm choking on water. It kind of like started over, we see like, okay, how does this version of Marvel Zombies starts, and it's a little different, and it's a little dreary, and some things are like, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so I didn't love it, and this is kind of making me like, I don't know if should I watch the Marvel Zombie show? Because, maybe I was into the whole concept when it started, but then I felt like it just kept getting, it was like overused, and it just kept continuing, and it kind of lost its luster. I don't know. So yeah, I didn't love that issue, but I think there's going to be a second issue. Now I'm totally forgetting. Miles Morales Spider-Man 38. This is continuing from last issue, or the Thickest Thieves Part 2, where there's a Inari and White Cat, or her luck-wielding partner in crime, White Cat. Yeah. And on the cover, you're like, oh, Black Cat's on here, in here too. And yeah, it that wasn't enough. I didn't care for it. New Avengers number 4. I was enjoying this, and it's Sam Humphries. As I was reading, I'm starting to get to the point now, we're 4 issues in, and I feel like it's that Thunder New Avengers versus the Illuminati. I can't even say that, and I'm looking at the cover. Killuminati. Okay, there you go. And it's just, I'm kind of over it. I kind of like, okay, just defeat them, deal with them, or just let them hang out and find someone else to go up against, because it's just like, okay, here we go. And this is mainly focusing on like Namor, like what's the struggles he's dealing with, and yeah, it was all right. Phoenix 15, I didn't read that. I don't know if I've been reading the last couple, but yeah, so that one, I was like, I don't have time, so I'm going to pause on that. Predator Kills the Marvel Universe number 2. I did not fully read this. I was like kind of skimming it. There's some interesting things that happen here. And it's just weird. I do like and appreciate how this continues, because I did like the Predator versus Spider-Man. I thought they did a good job with that. But what was interesting, because I think we can talk about it now, is how Kraven the Hunter went along with the Predators. And, so we're seeing him here. And just the fact, like, seeing different like characters getting brutally handled, it's kind of interesting. Runaways number 4. This was okay for me, and which is kind of weird, because I've been a huge Runaways fan since I started reading it. I came late into the Runaways game, but I remember I got like the first like hardcover, and I was just blown away. I was like, this is so much fun and everything like that. And I like how this series is continuing from the previous one. I'm glad that Rainbow Rowell is writing this, because she wrote the last series. But it just, part of it is because of the One World Under Doom. So I feel like that's really like kind of anchoring them down, and maybe that's the point, because what they're dealing with is the Doombot. They have a Doombot that is like a good Doombot, but he's being recalled to Latveria because Dr. Doom was whatever, big jerk. And it's just like, we're 4 issues and it's still going on. And maybe it's just the One World Under Doom is just like tainting my opinion of this, because I'm just like, I'm so ready for this to be over. Star Wars number 5, I had to skim through this, and maybe I'll blame it on that Valance character. He's here, that I'm just like, okay, whatever. It didn't feel like a whole lot happened here. I could be totally wrong. There was a Boba Fett, black, white, and red. I didn't read that, but I may have to go back and check this out. So we'll see. There's Ultimate Black Panther. I have no idea what's going on here. Issue 20. So I didn't read that. But then we have, I did not check out Uncle Scrooge, Earth's Mightiest Duck. This is number 2. I do want to check that out. But yeah, so maybe at some point. Uncanny X-Men number 21. Nope, I didn't read it, because this character, I don't even know this character's name. What is his name? Let's see if I can see it on the credits page. Ransom? I guess that's Ransom, right? Yeah, so this is like a story focusing on him and Wolverine. I'm sorry, I don't care. Yeah, so did not read that. And the Ultimates, number 16, I'm just, I'm struggling to get into Ultimates. I mean, I love Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm not reading Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate Wolverine, and with the Ultimates, this I feel like this should be like the big book because this is what's going to shake everything up. It's a countdown to the Maker returning, and the Maker is when it's like messing up this universe and it's really affected things. Just messed up so much stuff. But I don't know. I'm just struggling to. I'm like, okay, here we go. I can't really get into it. I'm interested, and I think part of it is because like some things are so different. I was like, this just feels so wrong, and like, oh, I really like this character, but now they're like reduced to this or this happened, and it's just, I guess it's just making it a little harder for me to enjoy because it's not how they should be, but that's kind of the point. So I don't know. At DC, I did not read very much. Let's see. Absolute Flash #7 came out, and I'm almost ready to drop some of these books because I haven't really been reading. I've been kind of skimming some of it, and it's like, why am I doing that? But some people do like it, and that's great. I hope. I don't know, and I feel like maybe with like Absolute Flash, this is when I'm like tempted to read just because it's Jeff Lemire writing it, but I think. And maybe it's a horrible excuse, but I think maybe I skimmed the first issue or first 2 issues too quickly, and I didn't really get a chance to appreciate, what was being developed there. But from what I did read, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, and so I may have missed out on some other stuff, and that could be part of the problem. I did not read Batman Superman World's Finest. I ran out of time, and when I saw, I was like, oh, this is coming out. It's like, oh, is that Brainiac on the cover? And I haven't been loving. I mean, this series, it's like there's been some cool stories and then some stories that I don't really like. So I don't know. I was like, well, maybe this is going to be one that I don't like. So I didn't check it out again. Plus the time. Batman and Robin Year 1. This is it. I love this book, and this is. There's I don't know what there's something to charm, and maybe it's the art or whatever. Or Mark Waid, Mark Waid is a great writer, but at the same time, some of the Batman Superman stories, I'm just like, okay. So I just more this it feels like this story's art line's been going on a long time, but it hasn't really felt like it's been dragging. Like I'm complaining about New Avengers on issue 4. But this one has been going on way longer, and it's been fun. Justice League Red #2. I didn't love the first one. I thought some interesting things, and I was going to start reading this, but it was mainly a time thing. I started, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I feel like so rushed to try to get started recording that I just can't get into it. And again, I hate that's the situation, but that's part of my problem having the day job. But I need the day job unless you want to support this podcast more. I can get that's not gonna happen. There was a Titans #27 cage match with the Zookeeper. Not reading that. Nightwing 130. This was kind of like a new story arc, and there's still this Nightwing Prime character, which Nightwing is. So basically, he's been empowered from like an imp from the 5th dimension, and I think it was Nightwing or whatever his name is. So he thinks he's a Kryptonian, or he has the power of a Kryptonian, which is dangerous, and he's a little he's not necessarily making the best decisions. So there's all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, like the Justice League shows up in Bloodhaven. They're like, "Hey, Nightwing, we know this is your city and everything, but this is like some serious stuff." And then it's like, what's going to happen, And can Nightwing handle this on his own, or does he need them to help and stuff? Crypto. What issue is this for? I totally forgot about this. This is another series where because I just love Crypto so much, but this series I haven't loved all that much. There's been some, and I think unfairly part of the reason I don't love it is because they're not happy stories. There is an issue where Lex Luthor came across Crypto and kept them in a cage, and it wasn't necessarily treated. It wasn't beating him or anything. I don't think, right? But it's just like not the happiest stories. So yeah, but I'm assuming when this, however many issues this is, it's going to have a happy ending. But oh my goodness! So yeah, I do need to read this. I will go and read it, but I did not this week. And with that is our kind of quick-ish, not too quick. That's comics for the week.
All right, now Dexter Resurrection, Season 1, Episode 10, Sins of the Father. So this is, actually, is this the season finale or is this the series finale? I mean, according to IMDb, there is a second season scheduled for 2026, but that kind of doesn't mean anything because there's that Dexter, was it First Blood or whatever, which was supposed to be I totally missed that. I didn't have Paramount Plus at the time, or Showtime. So there's that prequel Dexter show, which I have no idea if it was any good or if it was just complete, like a hot mess, which it got canceled. It was renewed for a second season, and then they went back and said, sorry, we changed our mind or something. As of now, there is a second season of Dexter. How are they going to do it? Because he gets killed oops. No, just kidding. All right, let's just get into this. Season 1, Episode 10, Sins of the Father. I take that back. It is not Sins of the Father. It is And Justice for All. So Sins of the Father was the last Dexter. I keep looking at the wrong thing before, whatever. And Justice for All. So it. And what I realized when I saw it, I don't know how I missed it the first time because I feel like I watched it more than once. I went back, but when in the vault when Dexter threw the hatchet, and I was like, he totally missed Charlie and Prater. He didn't hit anyone. He actually hit her in the arm. It was so weird. In the preview, I could see it clear as day, but somehow I missed it. I don't know. So it starts off outside the sealed vault door. Prater is like, that was amazing. And Charlie's like, it was stupid. And he's like, I killed him. And she's like, you killed a cop. He's like, I put up with these psychopaths for years. I don't even mind getting rid of them for you. But what happened in there, I did not sign up for. He's like, I know. Things got really out of hand. She's like, are you not listening? You killed a cop right as every police officer in the city is coming here for your gala. He's like, I'll take care of the gala, just like everything in there will take care of itself. And she's like, are you just going to leave him in there? He's like, what do you want me to do? Let him out? Introduce him to the police commissioner? Invite him to dance? And she's like, okay, point taken. He's like, remember the rule of threes. 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. He's good on oxygen. And she's like, so 3 days in. He's like, we can live with that, right? Even if he can't. I'm needed downstairs. You stay here. No one gets near the vault. There's a first aid kit in the credenza, because she's been holding her arm up to, he's like, tend to that wound. I need you at your best. Inside the vault, Dexter curses. He sees a gun on the floor. He starts for it, but then he's like, that gun killed Angel. He's like, can't get my prints on it. He looks around. He's like, there has to be another way out. It's like, this was not on my list of ways to die. And then he's like, bet that wasn't on Batista's either. So one of the trophies is a knotted sheet. So some killer must have done something with that. He takes it and he covers up Angel. And right away it starts soaking up the blood. He's like, rest in peace, Angel. You were a good cop and an even better man. And see, I don't know what to think about. I mean, Batista just he was right, but he was annoying in the way, I don't know. But then you hear behind him, and you hear his voice like, oops, you did it again. So it's his dead brother. He's like, that's what happens when you try to be someone you're not. And Dexter's like, I told Angel to go home. And he's like, Batista couldn't go home. He spent 20 years thinking you were his best friend, and then another 10 mourning your death, only to find out you're a murderous psychopath, and you never actually felt anything for him. And Dexter's like, then why does his death hurt so much? His brother's like, because you're still listening to your fake dad instead of your actual brother, your blood.
I offer you a life with someone who actually understands you, and you kill me. And then you got a second chance with Prater's little club, and you fudge that one up too. And for what? For people like Batista, your so-called friend, whose dying words were, by the way, fudge you. And Dexter's like, I'm glad I killed you when I had the chance. But I'm still curious. I feel like I missed something. What turned Batista on that Dexter was the killer? I don't know. So Charlie's tending to her wound, and she looks at the vault door, and she's like, 3 days, huh? Inside, Dexter tries using like the Ripper's manhole cover to the tool thing to pry open the door. Brother's like, good luck. If I had a Bay Harbor butcher locked in a room full of weapons, I wouldn't open that door for a month. So Dexter like just drops the tool. He like looks around, and his brother's like, so unless you want to start carving up some Batista sashimi, you're gonna die in here, and your shriveled, emaciated corpse will be Prater's greatest trophy yet. And he's like, I'm not dying in here. And he like throws a chainsaw at his brother's image. And then, but I guess the chainsaw probably doesn't work. There's probably no gas. And if it's a vault, is the whole place a vault? Is there, yeah, I don't know. Maybe, probably. And then he starts hearing, somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I'm not the sharpest, I can't believe I'm saying it, the sharpest tool in the shed. So it's Batista's phone. It's like in his folded jacket and shoes and everything. So Quinn is calling him. So he declines the call and he thinks, and he's like, poop. He's like, only one way to unlock this phone. And he's like, so sorry, brother. But it's weird. So he takes the phone, he lifts up the sheet on Batista, just holds it by his face. It opens even though the eyes are closed. It doesn't work that way. I thought your eyes have to be open, because then you could open someone's phone while they're sleeping. It doesn't work that way. Their eyes have to, or whatever. So he listens to the message from Quinn, and he says he got a call from some detective in New York. He's like, what the fudge you doing up there? He's like, come home. He's like, I'm worried about you. And look, the real reason I'm calling, I can't handle another day with Masuka. He's driving me fudging nuts. And Dexter just ends the message. He's like, I missed him, but there's only one person I can call. Harry appears. He's like, you said you were coming here to protect your son. Now you want to bring him into the lion's den? Dexter's like, I promised to keep Harrison safe. I can't do that if I die in here. And Harry's like, so this is all about being a good father, not because you're afraid to die? And Dexter's like, both things can be true. And then, oh man, Harrison is under the sheets with Gigi when his phone buzzes. But he's like, I should probably check that. And he sees it's Batista's phone. There's no way he's going to answer it. He's like, screw you, Batista. I'm not going to answer that. So he just rejects it. But right away it starts ringing again. And Gigi's like, who the hell is Batista? And Harrison's like, oh, some fudging guy that won't leave me alone, as you can see. The phone keeps buzzing, and she picks it up. She's like, hey, a-hole, Harrison can't talk. His mouth is full of me. And it's like, oh, you are so clever, so classy, whatever you want to call it. So she pauses, and then she's like, oh, okay. And then she's like, your dad wants to talk to you. So she puts like the phone under the sheet. Harrison gets up, he gets out of bed, he goes in the bathroom. He's like, hey, Dad, what's up? Dexter's like, I hate to do this, but I need your help. He's like, why are you calling me from Batista's phone? He's like, Prater knows who I am. He's like, Dad, stop. Why are you calling from Batista's phone? The last time you called from a cop's phone, he's like, yeah, Logan, I know. Harrison, listen to me. Prater killed Batista, and I'm next. And Harrison's like, fudge. And he's like, what can I do? So then Harrison calls Lance, and he's like, I was wondering if that offer was still good to work the gala. Hey, my man wants some loot after all. Yeah, I was just picking up some supplies. I'll text you the address. And Harrison's like, great. What supply? He's outside like a cannabis shop. That's his supplies, buying a bunch of pot. Dexter finds a couple drawers in the wall. He's like, what's this? Prater's files on all the serial slayers? Maybe the code to the vault is in here somewhere. He takes out a few folders, opens one. It's Al's. And Harry's like, you think Prater left a Post-it note labeled secret vault code? Dexter's like, well, I can figure it out. It's an 8-digit number. And Harry's like, you only get one chance. And if anybody were to put the wrong code, then there's a flashback to Prater saying that, if you put the wrong code just once, loud alarm goes off. Dexter takes out more files. There's one marked Charlotte Brown. Harry's like, Charlotte Brown? And Dexter's like, Charlie Brown. And Harry's like, no wonder she's always so pissed off. And Dexter's like, Prater likes to keep tabs on his employees. So there's like photos of Dexter. Prater, Harry's like, Prater likes to keep tabs on everyone. Could you imagine the irony of you going down as a dark passenger? And Dexter's like, yes, gonna have to destroy these. And Harry's like, if you ever make it out of here. And Dexter's like, he had to have written something down somewhere. And Harry's like, Cooper Morris. It's like, that's the guy Prater told you about, killed his parents. And Dexter's like, and others. What if Prater didn't write the combination down because it's a number he'd never forget? So there's a picture like the smashed car. It says car accident, date 03/26/1982. And Dexter's like, today's date. Harry's like, Prater hosts his gala on the anniversary of his parents' death. Dexter says, the night Cooper Morris killed Prater's parents was the defining moment for him. It's a pretty significant 8-digit number, don't you think? And Harry's like, that alarm goes off. 100 cops rush upstairs. Better be sure. And Dexter's like, sure? I'm betting my life on it. And Harry's like, what about Harrison's life? Dexter just like sighs. So there's a lady's like, talks to the servers, the waiters, and she's like, behind these curtains are the most powerful people in New York City. I want to see you. Wine glasses full at all times. I need you all available. You understand me? And Lance turns his back and takes a hit right there. Harrison puts in an earpiece. He calls Batista's phone. Actually, no, he doesn't call. He friggin' FaceTimes him. It's like, are you serious? And he's like, I'm in. And Dexter's like, great. Can you get me a better view? So he sticks the phone in his front jacket pocket. And he's wearing a white coat, like a white waiter's jacket, with a black phone sticking out of his pocket. He's going to walk around with like a tray of champagne. It's like, that's not going to be too obvious. If there's like all these rich people there and you see the phone camera sticking out, I'd be like, why are you filming me? Harrison's like, all right, where am I going? And Dexter says, the penthouse is above the east wing of the mansion. And Harrison's like, got it. So then Detective Oliva's outside. He helps Wallace out of a taxi. He's like, wow, he's like, that's a good color on you. And then she's like, your sleeves are still uneven. All robotic. Harrison asks now, he's like, where is he headed? And Dexter's like, all I see is champagne. So Harrison kind of curses, switches hands. He asks if he should take the stairs, and Dexter's like, those don't lead to the penthouse. Then Dexter sees a door in the camera. He's like, what's that door? And Harrison said it's to the kitchen. So Dexter says, I head there, but keep an eye out for Prater and Charlie, because they'll know, he's up to something if they see him. Harry says that he works with rich people all the time. They never notice to help. And then, like the police commissioner, someone like grabs a drink off his tray, and he's like talking to Prater. So Prater also reaches for a drink, doesn't even look at Harrison. So Harrison and Dexter are both like sweating, and Harrison says that he's glad that they got that over with, but Dexter tells him not to get cocky. So he makes it like back in the kitchen. He sees Lance. Lance is totally like toking up. It's just like big puffs of smoke, coming out. It's like pretty ridiculous. There's all these officers are, maybe it's legal or whatever, but it's like it just seems like a bit much. Dexter asks if he's like past the freezer. He's like, is that a staircase? So Harrison heads over there. There are stairs, but then there's a security dude. He like pops around a corner, and Harrison, it's so completely obvious, like just turns around. He like kind of curses under his breath, starts walking. Dexter is like, get out of there. But then the guy grabs him roughly. He spins him around. He's like, where do you think you're going? Harrison's like, actually, I was looking for you. One of our waiters is really stoned. I'm afraid he's a liability on the floor. So the guy's like, point him out to me. And he's like, he's right there. And right as he said that, a big puff of smoke goes out of Lance. And he's like, thanks for the heads up. And then Dexter's like, well played, son. And Harrison's like, yeah, remind me to make it up to Lance. So he runs up the stairs. Prater standing like on the stairs, on the stage, and he's handed a mic. He's like, welcome everyone to my favorite night of the year, the 10th annual gala for New York's finest. Yeah. Dexter says like, the penthouse is 5 stories up. Do those stairs go up that high? And Harrison's like, yeah, that actually leads to the roof. I think I'm here. It's locked. And Dexter's like, do you have anything to pick it with? So he takes his tie clip. He's like, can you pick the lock like I showed you at Iron Lake? So he's like trying, and he's like, it's not quite catching. Then the door like busts open. Charlie's there. Harrison Morgan, you're going through a lot of trouble for a man you barely know. And then she points her gun at him because that's how cool and tough she is. She has to use a gun against a teenage kid. So she motions for him to go inside. And of course, as he's walking, she has to like shove him with the gun to make him, tell him to get a seat because she's just so tough. And then Harrison's like, Dad, what do I do? And he's like, give the phone to Charlie. So Harrison takes out the earpiece, holds out the phone to her. My dad wants to talk to you. She like chuckles. And Dexter's like, Charlie Brown, so good to see you. We need you to open the vault. And she's like, as fun as that sounds, I think I'll leave the Bay Harbor Butcher safely locked away. And he starts taking pictures of her files. He's like, yeah, I kind of figured you'd say that. And he texts them to her. She's like, what's this? He's like, just a little something I found in your boss's secret file cabinet, time-stamped right before Mia's tragic suicide. There's a whole file on you. Paper trails, phone logs, surveillance photos. Look like Prater has been documenting your dirty work for a very long time. She's like, that mother trucker. And she just like kind of tosses the phone on the table. And Dexter continues like, the thing is, Charlie, there's quite a few cops downstairs. You'd be surprised how many of them keep their airdrop wide open. It would only take me a second. And she picks the phone back up. And he's like, and if you go to prison, who would take care of your mom? So here's the deal. I destroy everything, including the copies I took on Batista's phone. All you have to do is let Harrison go and open the vault. You'll never see or hear from us again. But then Batista's phone is down to 5% battery. She's like, you let my mom live? So here's what's going to happen. I let your son go, and I walk away. You die in there. Release those files any sooner, and well, you know how good I am at finding people. A month from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, I kill your son after I torture him. As long as you have it, take a look at my file. You'll see what I'm capable of. Now, if you excuse me, I have some unfinished business with my former employer. She puts the phone down again, and she's like, points the gun at Harrison, and she's like, if you were smart, you'd walk away too. There's nothing good in there. And she gets up, she walks out. Dexter calls the Harrison. He's down to 2%. Harrison's like, just switch to just audio. Dexter's like, I'm pretty sure I have the code to the vault. It's through the wine room. There's a keypad on the wall by the door, but we only get one shot. If I'm wrong, the alarm goes off. And if that happens, you need to get the hell out of here before 100 cops rush up the stairs. And Harrison's like, no pressure. He's like, Harrison, you don't have to do this. You can leave right now. I would understand. Harrison's like, just give me the code, Dad. So he's like 0, 3, 2, 6, 1, 9, 8. Wait, stop. And Harrison's like, what? So he looks at the files and he finds like several that says inmate 82661934. He's like, Dexter's like, that might not be the right code. He's like, can you start over? Harrison's like, are you sure? Because you're second guessing yourself. It's not really inspiring confidence. And Dexter looks at the picture of the wrecked car with the date on it and then a letter with the inmate number. He's like, delete everything. So start over. You ready? And Harrison's like, yeah. He's like, 82661934. And he like sighs. He's like, did you get all that? And the phone battery dies. Harrison's like, okay. And Dexter's like, poop. And Harrison's like, Dad? He starts pounding on the door, like calling out, do you want me to enter it? Dexter can't hear anything. And then, beep, the door opens. Dexter hugs him, lifts him inside. It's like, why are you bringing him inside? And Dexter's like, wait right here. I'm going to grab a few things. Don't let that door close. So he goes for the files, and Harry's like, you should quit while you're ahead. And Dexter's like, I want them. And Harry's like, you need to deal with Prater first. And Dexter's like, I will. But right above a gala crawling with cops is not the time. I need to be in control. So then he takes his blood slides. He's like, these are mine? He takes this duffel bag from Salvador Perón, the John Doe duffel bag or something like that. He's like, thanks for the bag, Sal. He grabs his knife and he puts the phones in the bag. So I don't know if it's like his and Harrison's. Where's his phone? I don't know. And Harrison's like, tell me we're getting out of here. And he's like, what's wrong? And Dexter's like, poop. He's like, I forgot something in the vault. And he's like, a fake thumbprint. That thumbprint is my only way out, but you can go back down the way you came. And Harrison's like, through the gala? He's like, are you nuts? And Dexter's like, it's like you said, no one notices the help. And Harrison's like, no, I mean, I'm not leaving you. Dexter's like, right now, Charlie could be telling Prater you're up here. I'm not having you wait around to see what he'll do. I need to know you're safe. And he's like, what about you? He's like, I'll be okay. So he starts to leave, and then Harrison starts to leave, and Dexter's like, Harrison, I just want you to know, if something happens, I'm really glad you didn't kill me. Which is just sounds funny. And Harrison's like, me too. So he goes down the stairs. Dexter picks up the files off the floor. And down in the gala, the police commissioner's talking with Prater again. He sees Charlie across the room, and she kind of motions for him. So he like excuses himself. He's like, let's go to my office. And she's like, here's good. And he's like, what's going on? You shouldn't even be down here. She's like, you're talking to me like I still work for you. I quit. I'm done protecting you. Harrison reaches the floor. He moves for the exit, but then he stops and turns because he sees Wallace and Oliva. Prater says to Charlie, you're not going anywhere. And she's like, why not? Because you have a file with compromising photos of me? It wasn't enough for you to hold my mother's health hostage? And you needed to own me? He's like, how do you know about that file? So Dexter's actually looking on the floor for the fake thumbprint. You know, there's like broken, like there was a teacup or something like that was like broken. So there's like broken crockery on there. Harrison moves again. He reaches an exit, but then like the waiter boss lady is there talking to someone. Charlie says to Prater, she's like, I'm going to disappear. You're going to keep paying for my mother's medical care, and all our secrets stay secret. Or we can go scorch earth. Up to you. And he just like glares at her. Harrison looks for another way. He sees Charlie and Prater talking. She says, good night to Prater. Prater takes the mic. He's like, all right, let's take this party up a notch. Harrison, he kind of backs up. He bumps into his waitress, and he ducks behind his plant. Some like wine or champagne, whatever, spilt. So Wallace and Oliva are nearby, and she's like glaring over the place like there's like some secret agenda to launch an attack or something. She's like so suspicious of everything. And at first I was like, did she see Harrison? Because why did he? He backed up when he saw them, but I'm pretty sure she didn't. And he's just like hiding behind this big plant. So Dexter's still looking on the floor. Then he lifts a sheet on Batista. It's right there on him. So he puts it on his thumb. And then he puts his hand on Batista's body, like to say his final goodbye. Prater says that tonight is about raising money for those wounded in the line of duty, so he's going to match all donations until tonight, 9 p.m., starting with his contribution of $1 million. And he's like, guess that makes it $2 million. Curtains open up behind him to reveal it's like big digital clock. It's like 8:20 right now. Then he sees Harrison move from behind a plant, and he says that he doesn't want to hog the spotlight all night, so he calls the police commissioner up, and he like wasn't expecting that. And Prater goes after Harrison. Harrison runs down some stairs, and he's like in the service area. Prater goes to the security room. He tells the dude down there to show him all the cameras at the north ballroom exit, like inside and out. He sees Harrison. Then he tells the dude, he's like, shut down all the cameras. The dude's like, are you sure? And he's like, do it. So Prater's like, give me your gun. And he's like, give me your gun, because the guy doesn't move fast enough. Harrison finds the exit, leaves, he's outside, takes off his tie, and he goes up these stairs. And somehow, Prater ends up right behind him, sticks the gun in his back. It's like, did he know some impossible like shortcut that breaks the laws of physics? He's like, hello, Harrison Morgan. Please head back down the stairs, now. So Dexter opens the elevator. He reaches outside by the cars, and he's like, Prater has a lot of expensive toys, but I'll never be one of them. And then his phone buzzes. So it's like, wait, whose phone is that? Because Batista's is like dead. So he's like, I'm almost out. It's like, where are you? And then it's Prater. He's like, why don't you come back upstairs? Trust me, you don't want to miss this after party. And Dexter's like, where's my son? Alive. And he's literally holding a gun to his head as he sits. And it's like, isn't his arm going to get tired after a while? And Dexter's like, where is my son. And then the Harrison, he's like, tell your father where you are. So he's like, we're in his wine room. He's like, Harrison. And then he's like, bye, Dad. Dexter goes back to the elevator, pulls out his knife. Things would be a lot easier if I didn't care. Is this the cost of loving someone? So outside the elevator, Harry tells him, he's like, get that fudger. Dexter like drops the satchel like the files, and then he like ducks into the wine room ready to make a move, but Prater is still holding a gun to Harrison's head. So glad you could join us. And Dexter's like, we both have compromising information on each other. Release my son. You'll never see me again. You don't have to do this. And he's like, actually, I do. I've always admired people like you, but today I finally got a taste of what it's like to be you, and it felt exhilarating. So thank you for giving me the, what did you call that? The itch, the need, the great yearning. And Dexter's like, the urge. The urge, yes, the urge. That's it. If I finally have that, my heart, racing is just racing, just thinking about it. Maybe this was my destiny all along, but I never would have known if you hadn't pushed me. That is why I'm so honored that you are here to witness my first proper, not impulsive kill. So Dexter thinks, love does have a cost, and this is the ultimate price. And he says, if this is your big show and tell, you can do better. So he puts down his knife and he puts his hands up. Kill me instead. You will be the apex predator, the best of the best, the man who took out the Bay Harbor butcher. Kill me and leave Harrison to live with the consequences, just like the man who killed your parents did to you. And he taps like the center of his chest. And Prater's like, yeah, but unlike Cooper Morris, I can't leave a witness. And I don't know why he keeps doing that, like I was clearing his throat. And Dexter's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't give you the protection that you needed. But he's obviously saying it to Harrison. And there's flashback. So it's like, what does that mean? But there's a flashback to when he mentions that if he's spending the night at Gigi's, he might want some protection. But what we see, which is interesting, is he instead of giving him condoms, he puts a syringe on the counter. And somehow Harrison takes the syringe out of his pocket now, after all this time, and it doesn't even have a cap on it. He just pulls it out of his pocket. Maybe he flipped the cap off in his pocket with one hand and managed not to poke himself. But it's crazy. So Prater moves a gun to shoot Dexter right as Harrison jabs him. And then the bullet like hits a corner like the ceiling in the wall. Prater goes down, and then Harrison's like, that better be the last time you tell someone to shoot you in the chest. He's like, what are we going to do with him? Dexter's like, there's no we. You're leaving now. And this part was weird because Harrison's like, Claudette's still in the ballroom. But it's like, why is he calling Wallace by her first name? And he's like, if she sees either of us, finds Batista, not a good look. So then Dexter gives Harrison a fake thumbprint. He tells him to go down through the garage. And then Harrison's like, well, how are you going to get out? And he's like, he says that he'll thumb a ride. It's like, come on, man. You know what that means. So Prater wakes up on a table. He's wrapped in plastic. He starts struggling. His mouth isn't like taped up or anything. He yells for help. Dexter calmly walks up. What's wrong? I thought you loved it in here. And he's like, please don't hurt me. Please, please. Oh God, oh God. And he's like, shh. At first I'm like, is Prater like exaggerating? Is he joking or is he really scared? So Dexter like shushes him. He's like, don't be scared. It's like you told me. Death is a natural, necessary part of life. He's like, I'll give you anything you want. A life of luxury. And Dexter's like, I'm good. And he's like, what about your son? Don't you want Harrison to go to a good college? He's like, I'll give you enough money to send his grandchildren to college. He's like, never utter my son's name again. He's like, okay, oh God, oh. He's like, none of this would have happened if you just killed that cop when you were supposed to. And Dexter's like, yeah, sorry to disappoint. I try not to kill good people. He's like, a serial killer with a conscience? He's like, a code given to me by my father. He understood my childhood, fated me to be like this, just like your childhood fated you to be like you are. But my father had a thing for justice. He taught me to kill only bad people. So I was intrigued when I found Red's invitation. Your dinner offered a buffet of killers to feed my urges. But then I got here, he like laughs. He's like, being around like-minded people, it was intoxicating. And Prater's like, that's what I wanted. And he's like, I know. He's like, a place for people like you where they can belong, where we all want to belong. And Dexter's like, yeah, I got to hear Al and Lowell and Mia and Gareth speak so freely, openly. He giggles like gleefully about their kills. He's like, it was a fudging revelation. And Prater's like, I knew you would enjoy it. I knew. But then Dexter's like, but then I realized all their victims were innocent people, not so like-minded after all. He starts walking around a trophy vault. He's like looking at different trophies. You made a compelling offer. Chance to give my son generational wealth over generational trauma. But I learned something about myself here, that the thing for justice, maybe it runs in the family. He's like, it's not about the thrill of the kill? Dexter like chuckles. He's like, both things could be true. So officers are getting like their photo taken on stage. They're told like big smile. Wallace tells Oliva, that it's her preference not to smile for no apparent reason. And she's like, how much longer do I have to be up here? And he says that they still have to pose with Prater. So like, any minute now. And she's like, where is he? Because she says she's not seeing him. The lady organizer asks the mayor if he'd do the honor of announcing tonight's fundraising total. And he's like, I thought Leon was going to do it. And she's like, still no sign of him. So Wallace says that, she's like, I'm going home. But then the lady's like, everyone has to stay on stage, please. It's like, they're about to make a big announcement, and you won't want to miss that. So the mayor starts talking. Everyone's like, looks at the clock. It's almost time for the grand total. So they count down, 5, 4, 3. So it's 11.4 million. And he's like, and with Leon's match, changes it 22.8 million. So he spent like $13 million. Okay. And then he's like, 22.8 million. It's like, Leon, where are you? And they start chanting, Prater, Prater, Prater. Dexter takes a scalpel from like a trophy display, and Prater is like struggling. I don't know if they can hear the chanting or not, but then Dexter says like, listen to it now, because after you disappear, you'll be remembered as a cop killer with a serial killer fetish. And he cuts Prater's cheek. Then he sets down the scalpel. And he's like, I'm not going in the blood slide box. And Dexter's like, nope, you're not. He's like, oh God. And he laughs. Yes, I knew you'd see it my way. No one can turn down that kind of money. No. And he's like, laughs. And Dexter's like, oh, no, I am going to kill you. He's like, but you. He's like, I keep trophies to remember. And I don't want to remember you. And Dexter like lifts the blade, and he's like, ah! Prater's screaming, and then zhunk, thrusts it down, and Prater like gasps, he's dead. So Dexter he sits there, he's like takes it in, and then he pulls out the blade, he cuts off his thumb, Prater's thumb, and then he's like cleaning up the place. He's using bleach, spraying stuff. He wipes his prints off the trophies and drawers, whatever he's touched. He puts like trophies, back in their display cases. And Wallace is like ready to leave. Oliva wants to walk her out, but she's like, no. But then the DJ starts playing Staying Alive. She goes back in. She starts dancing. And he's like standing there. She's like, are you just going to stand there? And watch? Or are you going to join me? And then he's like starts dancing with like a smile. Dexter has Prater chopped them into separate bags. He looks at Angel's body. He's like, goodbye, for real this time. Then there's a picture of Prater, like the police commissioner, I think, in front of this really big boat. He's like, looks like that private charter might be up for grabs. Time for the world to see the real Leon Prater. So he opens the vault with his knuckles, goes back in. Wallace and Oliva are still dancing. Then the loud alarm goes off. The organizer lady tells, like, I guess security dude, she's like, that's coming from the penthouse. Wallace and Oliva and others follow. Dexter, he uses a severed thumb to open the elevator. Officers and like two detectives, they arrive upstairs. They see the open vault, and they're like, what's this? Because right away you see the clown costume in there. A young officer's like, we have to call this in. Oliva's like, no one to call, kid. We're all here. Another officer's like, got a body over here. Oliva yells like, and a gun. Wallace lifts the blanket. He's like, it's Batista. Dexter's on the boat, the big, huge boat. He's like, being back on a boat is a resurrection of sorts, but it's different this time. Harry taught me the code to keep me from getting caught, to control my urges. And we see Wallace, he looks at Batista's hat, and she's like, still no sign of Prater? This young other officer, she's like, no, but guess whose prints were on that gun? Wallace tells two officers with Batista's body, she's like, wait. And she puts the hat on his body, on the bag. She's like, this belonged to Captain Batista. Then Oliva, he's like crouching over some files on the floor, and he stands and he turns. He sees the Ripper weapon on the wall. He calls out to Claudette. He's like, check this out. And he's like, look at this. He points to the files. The one on top says Frampt, Don, the New York Ripper. She picks it up, and she almost has to like steady herself. Like, that's the dude's name. After all this time, she knows who the killer is. Dexter continues narration. He's like, but my urges are evolving. When I came back from the dead, I thought I was fated into solitary existence. We see Charlie wheeling her mom out of the house in a wheelchair, obviously. Mom's like, what's going on? And Charlie's like, we're leaving this cesspool of a city. And her mom's like, what? Where are we going? And Charlie's like, home. We're going back to Amherst. It's like, I bought the house you brought me up in. And she's like, what about your job, your students? Because she thinks she's a teacher. And Charlie's like, we have a lot to talk about. Dexter continues, he's on the boat. He's like, but maybe I'm not built for solitude. I need people like Blessing and his family. We see them, they're like dancing around in his living room. He's like, and as Al said, even people like me need to belong. Harry always pushed me to lean on Deb, but she's gone. I miss her, but now I have Harrison. He can lean on me. And when my darker urges start to swell, I can lean on him to become more human, more connected. And he's like dropping like bags of body parts into the water to remind me why I do what I do. And then he looks at the files he has. There's like Yonker, Slayer, the Midnight Mangler, Al Walker, Rapunzel. He's like, I used to wish that I could be different, normal, a life without my dark passenger. But who am I kidding? This is who I am. This is exactly who I need to be. Exactly who you want me to be. And that is the end of Dexter. So that's it. That's the end of the season. So now the question is it still going to be Dexter Resurrection? According to IMDb, it is. Or are they going to change it again? And is he going to stay in New York? Because he's talking about like Blessing, because he's friends with him. He's like part of their family. So he has Harrison, he has Blessing in his family. He wants something. So is it okay? Is he in the clear enough to stay there? So we'll have to see. And if the show does continue, which it seems like, what's going to happen next? He's going to go after the killers in the files. That's probably not going to be that exciting. So there's got to be some other drama comes to town that's going to be annoying, but is what it takes to give meaning to the show, I guess. So see. So it was good. So I'm glad I did cover it and watch it, because if I didn't cover it, I probably would be like, I'll watch it at some point, and then who knows when I would ever watch it. So it was good. Yeah. So there you go, Dexter Resurrection.
All right, Twisted Metal, Season 2, Episode 9, Va-Va-Voom. V-A-V-A-V-U-M. Va-Va-Voom. It feels weird talking about the show because now it's been over for since they dropped 2 episodes per week. But I guess I'm gonna just keep continuing, keep going on. So it starts off, John and Quiet, they walk to the well because they talked about the wish. They go out in the hall and it turned into the wishing well area. And so they're walking up to the well, and then they get startled because Calypso like kind of pushes his way through him. He's like, hello. And then he's like, the lovers. He's like, what exactly can I do for you? And John's like, so here's the deal. He's like, Quiet made a wish, then I came back and I made another wish, and it was a simple mistake, heat in a moment type thing. He's like, I want the wall to come down just like Quiet, so I'm here to undo my wish, nothing major. And Calypso's like, this is very serious. He's like, I gave you strict instructions, 1 wish per car. And John's like, I know, is like, it was a mistake. He's like, that's why I want to take my wish back. I mean, and Calypso suddenly appears behind John. He's like, do you really want that? It is your sister after all. And he kind of goes over to Quiet. He's like, and you let him make this sacrifice? It was a big lie, but he must have really wanted her back. And she's like, yeah, but Krista. And then John's like, it's my sister. It's my choice. And then Calypso's like, if you want to solve your wish problem, drink from the well. And John's like, that well? He's like, mm-hmm. And it looks kind of like green, kind of like mossy and it's like stuff or whatever. So they both cup one hand. You can't get very much water in one hand. They scoop up one hand and then they drink. And he's like, all right, that's it. Everything will be taken care of. And Quiet's like, really? And Calypso's like, easy peasy. He's like, you run along now. They start to leave. And he's like, oh, and have fun tonight. Starts laughing. And Quiet, as they're walking out, Quiet to John, she's like, if he has something fun planned, we're fudged. So then Mayhem is impressed because I guess she just did laundry, and she's like, wow, this bleach really, works or whatever. She's like, I wonder if it'll clean my insides, which I don't know why anyone would think that or whatever. And then she sees this wooden box in her bed with a wax sealed note. So she opens it and she's like, so I guess she can't read, which is kind of sad, but I mean, it makes sense. There's no schools in that. But so they must have all gotten letters because Stu's reading, Dearest drivers, tonight we will be celebrating the annual Wintertide Solstice Promenade. And Axel reads while he's doing sit-ups, we will honor the transition of the seasons with music, dance, and general revelry. And Vermin pops up like next to him. He's like, ooh, did you say party? He's like, lucky for you. I love dirty dancing. And Axel's like, I'm not surprised about the dirty part. You haven't washed it in days. He's like, I'll pass on the dancing. And she says something like, oh, we'll see. And John reads, like, please use the contents of this stunningly crafted chest to ready yourselves and meet outside the gym at 8 p.m. Warm solstice, Calypso. And he's like, so the next round is a party. And Quiet's like, John, we fudged with this man's game, so no, I don't think the next round is just a party. And John's like, well, it can't be that bad. And she's like, I'm not taking any chances. She starts hacking at the chest, little box with her hatchet, the finely crafted thing. And then she pulls out like this red dress. And she's like, okay, so maybe there is a dance portion. Sweet Tooth comes out of like this big tent pillow for it, I guess, in his and Stu's room. He's like, wait, did you say Wintertide Solstice Promenade? He's like, I've always wanted to do a prom episode, but I never got the chance. He's like, but I've seen everyone. Oh, tonight is going to be magical. I'm going to own the dance floor like Carlton Banks in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And he holds up a couple outfit choices to Stu. He's like, which one? And then Stu picks one. He's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Stu picks the other one or whatever. Axel, so now they're dressed. They're starting to walk towards her. Axel, of course, has no shirt. He has I don't know what it's called. I even tried looking it up. I couldn't figure out the little like white square thing that sometimes people wear like under a shirt or like a jacket if they don't actually have a shirt. It's not a cummerbund, not a cumberbatch. It's, I don't know what it's called. It's just a little like fake shirt, and he's got like a bow tie like holding it. Raven comes out of her room as he walks by, and she's like, ew, get a life. And everyone's dressed. And then it's so silly. It's like slow motion when like Quiet comes out in her like red silky dress, whatever. John like looks at her. He's amazed. He's like, and he almost sounds like he's surprised. He's like, you look amazing. Or she even comments, she's like, is there a fan blowing? Because like it's like slow motion, her hair is going. It's kind of silly, but. And Mayhem comes wearing this like weird tight pink dress, and she has a lot of makeup on. She's like, this dress fits like poop. And Quiet's like, I think you have it on backwards. And she's like, how did you do this? And she starts to help her, whatever, fix it, which I don't know how she's going to help right there. But then Calypso chimes over to PA. He's entered a gymnasium. They go in there. He's standing next to this big like tree in the middle of the gym. He's like, welcome to Wintertide Solstice Promenade, a celebration dating back to the Roanoke colony. He's like, and back then they would gather to honor life's transitions, the moments we all share in common. So like, did he just like give something away that he was alive back then? And this eve, we honor the death of autumn and celebrate the birth of winter. We honor the dead with our own offering of life. And John whispers a quiet. He's like, I wonder what's our offering? Calypso slices the palm of his hand with a blade, and he smears blood on a tree trunk. He's like, who's next? So Raven steps forward, and she like kind of fakes like when he cuts, and then she like rubs her hand on the palm. She like kind of fakes. She's like, it was like weird when she did it, because she's like, it doesn't hurt. She's acting all tough. So they each go up. When it's Stu's turn, he kind of like flinches. So Calypso has to like grab his wrist and in order to cut it. And then Stu like winces when he rubs a tree. He's like, oh, I got a splinter, of course, right? Axel's like, left or right? And Calypso like, I think we can skip you, because he doesn't have hands. He's got his big metal whatever gear. Quiet goes up and doesn't show any pain. And when John steps up, Calypso's like, to those who've fallen, because he's talking about his sister. And then he's like, thank you for your offering. And then when they're all done, to like everyone, he's like, thank you for your offering. And he pulls like a leaf off the tree. He like wipes his cut. He's like, he holds it up. All better. It's healed. Then they all look at their hands. They're all like surprised because their cuts are healed too. But Stu's like, but my splinter hasn't disappeared. And Calypso just ignores him. And he's like, now, there has been much death, and there will be more. But tonight, he like strikes the match. Tonight is for the living. He drops it at the base of the tree, and then the tree like lights up in flames. And then we see there's like a disco ball over the gym. Spin doctors, 2 princes start playing. There's actually a DJ in there. Calypso's like, let's party. He tells them not to be shy, to dance, have some hors d'oeuvres, and John and Quiet are like confused. So Raven, then we see her like spiking the punch with like a bottle of vodka or something like that. Where she got it, I have no idea. Mayhem says that she walks up, she's like, I saw that. She's like, and I approve, because she's such a kid. Raven just gives her like this look. Dave and Mike, they want to go in the photo booth to make some precious memories. And he's like, well, aren't you worried it might melt your eyes or something? But they're like, oh, come on, whatever. So the two go in, and Stu starts to walk away, and then Dave like opens a curtain. He's like, hey, Stu, he's like, you got to get in here. He's like, it's not the 3 bromigos without you. And so then they go in there, and like while they're in there, was it Gerardo? How Bizarre starts playing. So we see like different shots of them, or whatever, all smiling and laughing. Quiet walks up to John at the food table, and he's like, check out this spread. He picks up some food, she like knocks it out of his hand. And John's like, but he put marshmallows in cereal. And he's like, I'm but a mere man. And then he's like, wait, did you want one? She's like, no, and you shouldn't have one either. It could be laced with something. She's like, or the DJ could be spitting subliminal messages in his beats, and when the bass drops, we're going to kill each other. John's like, maybe, but I'm going to eat this. She's like, I'm just saying something is up. He's like, I get that. Like, when it seems all good on the outside, but on the inside, there's a surprise waiting, like these tasty pig in a blanket. And he's like, And he's like trying to like shove it in her mouth, but her lips are, she keeps them closed. He's like, come on. He's like, they're good. And he's like, I've had like 6 of them. She's like, you're acting like nothing's wrong. He's like, something's always wrong. It's been that way our entire lives. So sure, Calypso might try some poop, but tonight I'm here with you right now, and you look nice. And she's like, great, I'm glad I'll make a beautiful corpse. It's like, wait, he said you look nice, not beautiful. A little, whatever. She's like, I'm gonna go check the rest of the perimeter. Then we see Mr. Grimm, he's sitting on the bleachers. Vermin comes up and kind of sits next to him and says hi. And he's like, sorry, I can't get distracted before the next round. Then another voice like turns to her and is like, truth is, he thinks about you at night. He's just nervous that you won't like the rest of us. And Vermin says that he doesn't have to be nervous, that she thinks his voices are kind of cute. And then he like reaches out a hand, and she squeals. Raven continues drinking. She's drinking from the bottle. Axel comes up, and she's like, this party sucks. And she's like, I tried to go to prom one time. It's like, they took the love of my life, and they didn't let us in. Turns out this witch Destiny told the principal that we were going to do ecstasy, which, hey, we were, but because of her, Kelly and I never got our dance. And Axel's like, wait, so you're a lesbian? And she's like, yeah, I'm a lesbian. Do you have a fudging problem with that? He's like, no. She's like, Axel loves the lesbians. And she's like, right answer, witch. She didn't say witch. So I don't know what that was about. And then the DJ's playing Butterfly by Crazy Town. Come, lady. You get it. Mr. Grimm's voice is like chastising him, tells him to ask her already. So he asks for him, and she wants to dance. So of course they dance. Quiet's watching as people are dancing. Dave and Mike are dancing, and Stu comes up with food.
and he's like, now, Dave, these are chicken fingers, not people fingers. He's like, you sure you still want some? And Dave, he kind of gets mad. He's like, GD, Stu. He's like, really? And he like walks off. Mike tells him, he's like, you can't say poop like that to someone in recovery. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to him. And Stu's like, no. He's like, I messed up. He's like, I shouldn't have said that. It's like, I want to own this. I'll go. Quiet's still standing around, like watching. John starts like dancing in front of her, asks if she's found anything suspicious, and she's like, no. So they're all dancing except for Quiet. Then the DJ changes the song to Juvenile's "Back That Ass Up," and they're kind of stand around for a second. And John's like, "Oh ho ho!" He's like, "That's my spit." But he doesn't say spit. And Quiet finally comes out and dances to John. John starts saying, he's like, because Grimm's like going, he's like, "Go Grimm, go Grimm." And others starts like joining, like chanting. And Sweet Tooth is mad because he's like, "That's supposed to be my dance circle." Like when it first started, he's like, "Okay, everyone form a circle and dance around me," but everyone ignored him because they don't care about him. Stu's looking for Dave, and then he finds him like with someone in like a locker room or something like that. And it's like, wait, why does he have a leg? Like, what is he doing? And it turns out he's actually eating someone. And he tells Stu, he's like, everyone backslides. He's got blood all over his face. I don't know whose body it was. I don't think it was just like parts. I don't know if we saw some random, worker there. Because there's some people like serving food and that. So Stu tells him, he's like, "You're not being yourself." He's like, me and Mike can help you. And then Dave kind of like cackles and says like, no, he can't help him. He's like, this is who he is. He's like, now the mask is off. And so he's not going to let him turn Mike against him. And he was thinking that he's going to boil Stu's flesh and feed it to Mike. And then he swings a leg at Stu and he like kind of blocks it. They start fighting and everything. And then at one point he like grabs Stu's leg, like knocks him down. He like takes his sock off, shoe and sock off, and he's like licks his foot, which ew. And then Stu, he can't get up, but he like kind of sits up and he like bites Dave in the butt, and he's like, Dave's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "What that tastes like?" And he's like, "It tastes like ass." And then so he gets up, he finds like a tire iron or something like that. He's like holding it, and then Dave says like, "I'm coming in for the main course." So he just like comes at him, like leaps up at Stu, but then Stu just like sidesteps. He moves out of the way. There's like some coat hooks on the wall. Right through Dave's eye, and he's just like hanging there on this coat hook. So then later Stu, like I guess he puts like a noose around him, like hoists him up, and he starts writing, I guess, a suicide letter. He's like, "Dear bros and bras," he's like, "I bet you're wondering how I got here. Well, it's kind of a funny story." And he just keeps going. Axel used the photo booth, and then John wants a picture of like how good he looks, and then he's like, no. He's like, "I want how good you look" to Quiet. Quiet tries getting like Mayhem to join them, and she's like, "Pass." And she's like, "I look like ass in this dress." Quiet's like, "No, you look great, but maybe put your hair up." So she bends over, like leans forward, and like puts her hair like, and it gets like a hair tie. It's like some sort of like ribbon, like kind of torn ribbon or something like that. Axel like sees it, and he thinks back to the baby that he saved, the baby that was taken. And the baby's blanket matches the torn ribbon that Mayhem is using. And then he's like, where'd you get that? The thing in your hair? And she's like, I don't really know. She's like, I had it since I was a baby. So she goes in a photo booth, and he's like thinking back to caring for the baby, and then when he was attacked, and then he wakes up, find the baby's gone, and he's like, no. Vermin and Grimm, I think they're like behind the bleachers going to Funky Town, and then while they're going at it, Sweet Tooth like pops up over, I think it was like over the top of the bleachers, and he says to Grimm, he's like, "Oh, I didn't think you could land her. I guess you win the bet." And then she gets mad. She's like, you bet that, whatever, and so she runs off, and Sweet Tooth laughs because he just wanted to be a jerk to him. Stu returns to the gym. He goes up to Mike. Mike's like, "Oh, you've been gone a while." And Stu says, he's like, "Did you talk to Dave?" And Stu's like, "Yeah, he forgave me." He's like, he said he had some personal demons to deal with or something. And then Stu asks if he wants to hit the snack table. Mike says, he's like, "Oh, I have a better idea." Takes out a hacky sack. Stu's like, he's like, you kept it all this time? He's like, "Of course, it means a lot to me." So then Quiet shows Mayhem the pictures, and she's like, "See, you look cute." And Mayhem's like, "That's what I look like?" It's like, "I look great," which is kind of silly that she's never looked in a mirror. She's driving a car with the rear view mirror. She has no idea what she looks like. So it's supposed to be funny. I don't know. Then the Pretenders, I'll Stand By You comes on as John walks up to them. He's like, may I have this dance? And Mayhem's like actually like smiling, like watching him dancing, which is kind of weird. I mean, it's nice, it's sweet. Axel's kind of like freaking. He's like looking at her because he's like, she's the baby. That's the baby that I lost. You know, because he obviously cared about the baby. You know, we saw this in the flashbacks. Stu and Mike are playing hacky sack. Grim, he's sitting alone. Vermin's like dancing alone. Raven's just standing by to punch. She's looking miserable. And she's like, we'll have our dance soon, Kelly. Just a few more kills to go. Quiet tells John, she's like, I never thought I'd get a night like this. And she says that she wants to tell him something. And he's like, don't. And she's like, what? Why? He's like, you don't have to. So then they start smooching. The camera's like spinning around them and everything like that. Then we see Sweet Tooth sitting and watching everyone. But he sees everyone as paper bags. Because you see like two bags like kind of like touching on the floor. It's supposed to be John and Quiet. And then you see there's even like there's one spinning on a turntable. It's supposed to be the DJ. And then sitting next to him is a real person. That's Harold. So he sees Harold as a real person. He sees everyone else as paper bags. And he's like, he says something to Harold, and Harold's like, oh, I love you, Sweet Tooth. And then, you know, he's got his arm around him. Then it cuts to Sweet Tooth with his arm around his Harold paper bag. Smoke starts covering the floor. Calypso's like up high, and he's like, oh no, what's happening? And he like laughs. I don't think anyone heard him, whatever. He's just like, whatever, being sarcastic. Sweet Tooth like coughs a little, and he's like, does this smoke smell weird to you, Harold? And he's like, Harold? Harold's missing. And Grimm's holding him, and he lights him on fire. And Sweet Tooth starts like crying out, no! And Grimm's laughing, but he passes out. They both pass out. Everyone's falling over. Vermin's like, we're being fumigated. Everyone falls. Everyone's passed out. John wakes up in a car. He's got a seatbelt on, and then it's like we see Quiet, but she's like in a different car. And Calypso starts talking, wakey, wakey. It's like, I hope you all had a lovely evening bonding with your fellow competitors. Alas, if you want to advance to the final round, those bonds will have to break. Welcome to the after party. And then, so it's like you see like outside, there's like thunder. It's like you know, kind of purplish skies. There's like these weird towers, and no idea what they're gonna do, or like what this competition will be. But that was the end of episode 9, and there's still a few more to go. So like I said, I keep saying this. I enjoy the show. I think it's fun. It's kind of silly sometimes, you know, but I'm enjoying it. So we will continue, even though the show is over, or the season's over. All right, with oh my goodness, Alien Earth season 1 episode 6, The Fly. Whew. Man, this episode was something. It's I don't want to say stressful, but it was kind of stressful. It's like, no. Yeah. So it starts, and it seemed like the opening, because, you know, they always do, like, they show some shot, and they give you, like, glimpses of, like, stuff that's going to happen. But it felt like this one, it was a little slower, because they're usually, like, so fast that you barely get a sense of, like, wait, what did I just see? Do I need to, I barely saw anything. So it felt like it was slower, so we got to see more what was actually coming up. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it, you know, you could actually see stuff, so that was fine. It starts off here like some hissing in the distance, and we see like specimens in a lab, and then boy Cavalier, I cannot stand him. He's saying all children except one grow up. So, you know, he's with his reading Peter Pan over and over again. I don't know, but he's not doing it now because he's off the island. But we see like the freaky sheep with the octo eye just like standing in his cage. That thing is so scary. That thing is gonna like give you nightmares. Just the way it just sits there and looks at everything. And I have an idea about it, and I don't know if there's anything to it. Just because of what happened, was it last episode? But then he's like, they soon know that they will grow up. And the way Wendy knew was this. But we see, the sheep is actually looking at Wendy because she's in the lab with that baby alien thing. He's like, one day when she was 2 years old, she was playing in a garden, and she plucked another flower and ran with it to her mother. I suppose she must have looked rather delightful, for Mrs. Darling put her hand on her heart and cried, "Oh, why can't you remain like this forever?" And I'm just thinking about this. We had like an audio. We have like an audiobook CD of Peter Pan read by Don French. And I've heard it so many times with my daughter, and I might have it on the iPod. My daughter's listened to it, just sometimes in the car. She wants to listen to a story, sometimes music. And this is when she was teeny tiny. And I remember this part like so well. But then next to the sheep's cage, there's like this weird cocoon thing in like the top corner. I thought at first, I was like, is it in the same cage as a sheep thing? That doesn't seem like a good idea, but it's in the next cage over. And there's like something inside, which is like, ugh, what could possibly in there? And he's like, this is all that passed forth on the subject, but henceforth Wendy knew that she must grow up. You always know after you're two. Two is the beginning of the end. And then Wendy's making like the soft chittering noises to the baby alien who's like crawling around in a cage. And it's kind of cute, but also kind of freaky. And it goes up against to the glass, and when it's like screeches and clicks softly, Kirsch and Joe are watching from like a hallway window. And then the little alien like hits the glass, like it's trying to get at her. And Joe's asks if she's safe. And Kirsch's like, she killed an adult male single-handedly. This one is a child, and 3 inches of steel and tempered glass between them. Joe's like, he says safe isn't always about bodies, and Kirsch is like a little confused. He's like, are you concerned about her feelings or emotions? And Joe says that Smee told him that he can go like 2 years without recharging. He's like, what other maintenance do they need? The hybrids. And Kirsch is like, why? And Joe's like, well, I'm saying, one day she's going to graduate, right? From this place. And when she does, she's going to need someone to take care of her. And Kirsch is kind of a jerk, but he's like, that's like an onion asking, how do I take care of a star? And Joe kind of like chuckles softly. He's like, fine, sure. And Kirsch's like, you think he's going to let you take her with you? And Joe's like, no, maybe. And Kirsch's like, to do what? And he's like, live, be a family. And Kirsch's like, your sister has potential to invent faster than light travel and explore the stars for thousands of years, and you want her to be a family? And Joe's like, she's just a kid. And Kirsch's like, keep telling yourself that. And he walks away. So Joe keeps watching Wendy, like kind of, playing whatever, not really playing, but she's with the baby alien, and she's smiling. So it's like, it seems a little weird. Nibs gets examined. Arthur says, he's like I said, it's mechanical. I don't like Boyd, that Adam guy, his I don't even know what his position is. He's kind of like Boyd's right-hand man. I thought he was like his aide, like his flunky. But, he's there. It's like, I guess he's in charge if Boyd's not there. So he's like, is she, and Arthur's like, she's in charging mode, she can't hear us. He's like, what did she say exactly? So Dame Sylvia, Arthur's wife, she's there. She said that she was pregnant. She's had a traumatic, and he's like, is that what I'm supposed to tell him? And Sylvia's like, she's always been emotional, you remember. And he's like, I thought we adjusted for that. And she's like, we did, and the architecture is just not enough, clearly. So how do we fix her? And she's like, in time, with enough therapy. And he's like, no. And Sylvia, like, she's, as I said, there's trauma in her past. We knew that when we chose her. She's like, I can help her. I just need time. And he's like, no. You're going in, reset her to before the tower, full memory wipe. Then I want you to dial back her reactions to stimulus, slow her processing speed. And Sylvia kind of glanced at Arthur. He's like, he says that you're talking about fundamentally altering her personality. That's against every principle of the program. And Adam's like, don't be dramatic. You said it yourself. She's a child in distress. We're helping her. You should be grateful we have the tools. And Sylvia's like, we don't know what impact this would have on her identity or her functioning psychology. We could be making it worse. And Adam's like, listen to me, both of you. This unit is going to be smiling and waving from the stage 3 weeks from now, and when the information architects of the 5 talk to her about canapes and cocktails, I want her to be calm and charming, just like the others. We've come too far to fail now, just because you don't have the stomach to bring this home. And Arthur's like, I won't do it. And Adam's like, excuse me? Sylvia's like, we'll do it. And Arthur kind of turns and looks at her like, he's like, what? And he's like, no, wait. It's like, are you kidding? And Adam's like, your husband has qualms. Can you do it yourself? And Arthur's like, no. And she's like, yes. And Adam's like, good, then do it. And turning to Arthur, he's like, you're fired. And Arthur's like, whoa. And she's like, you can't be serious. And Arthur's like, hold on. And Adam's like, absolutely. You disobeyed a direct order. But it's like, he's the flunky. I don't understand that. Arthur's like, you need me. And Adam's like, no more, it seems. So pack your things. You can take the rest of the day to organize your transport. If you're still on the island at the end of the day, you'll be trespassing, and you may be shot. So, like, this guy took a complete turn with his character. Now he's just like utter piece of crap. And, you know, I don't know how he has so much authority, because, like, is Boy going to be okay that he's firing him? Or does he just not care? So Adam, like, walks out. Sylvia, like, shakes her head. So Wendy comes out of the lab. Joe's there, and he tells her that was amazing. And she's like, yeah. She chuckles. She's like, the pronunciation is a bit tricky, but she's like, I'll get it. And he says that, you know, being honest, he thinks bringing them here was, you know, a mistake. You know, species from another world. And, you know, they're lucky that they didn't escape in a crash. And she's like, they didn't ask to come here. And he's like, don't do that. You know, give them thoughts and feelings. You know, they're killers. And she's like, well, we are too, you know, humans. And he's like, well, not like that. He's like, you know, because they have brains, you know, they think, they have, you know, humans, they have a community. Meanwhile, the aliens survive, eat, sleep, maybe, you know, that's it. And she's like, bees do that. Yeah, ants do that. And, you know, they have hives, systems, whole colonies. So he said, he's like, it tried to kill us. And she's like, not this one. So she says that she thinks that this one could be good. And he's like, Marcy. And she's like, this is a yes place, not a no place. And he's like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? She's like, the boy genius said that no is the first step to nothing. Being nothing, achieving nothing. And here we say yes. So he talks about, you know, someone trying to take advantage and you know, no gives you power. Then he smiles. He's like, we don't have to talk about this, not today. It's like, it's been a crazy few days. I'm so proud of you. I can't imagine how hard all this has been. You know, and it's not going to be forever, I promise. He's like, I'm working on a way to get us out of here. And she's like, what if I don't want to go? And then she continues walking. At this other building, at first I thought, is this a Yutani building? You know, Wayland Yutani, but I don't know if it is. I think maybe it's just a lawyer building, Mutual Grounds. So Boy arrives, and he's like barefoot. I just can't stand him. He's like, oh, he's so, what was the word? He's so eclectic or whatever. And then he stupidly and grossly puts his feet up on the conference table. It's so disgusting. And he's just like leaning back. It's like, you are so unprofessional. And, you know, you are not a boy, you know, you're young, but it's just like, come on, you know, you don't do that. So this lawyer speaks. Amaro and Kirsch are there. Let's see, Adam is there? Is Adam? No, I don't think Adam's there. Margot, Kirsch. There's someone else there. And Yutani's like, let me start by listing the facts that are not in dispute. And she's like, first, the USCSS Magonaut is a science class research vessel owned and operated by the Wayland Yutani Corporation. Boy, it's like, so he starts picking his toe like under the nail. And she's like, this means that all data and research material on board are the sole property of Wayland Yutani. Seizure and retention of these items is, and then he's like, sorry, can I? And she's like, wait your turn. He's like, your ship didn't just crash in something. It's like, it destroyed 3 blocks of my city, killing and injuring thousands. The lawyer's like, you'll have your chance to speak. This is Miss Yutani's turn. And he's like, look, I don't know how things are done here in Bureaucracyville, but in the future, where I live, we move fast and we make trillions. And Yutani's like, I'll compare our earnings to yours any day. The lawyer's like, this is a professional hearing, and we will conduct ourselves professionally. And the boy's like, or what? And she's like, or he'll send you to bed without your supper, little boy. Then the lawyer tries to get Boy to agree to the facts that she's listed. And he's like, what, that's her ship? Yeah, sure. She could have it back as soon as I figure out how to remove it from my building without knocking it over. So the lawyer asks him, what about the materials on board? And Boy's like, well, let me ask you something. What if it wasn't an accident? And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm saying maybe it was an attack, or maybe the pilot was drunk, or maybe the ship was so poorly maintained that it crashed. It's a matter of criminal negligence, which would make her a criminal and me the victim. Like, oh no, here's a better word, the cop, because now it's my job to figure out why so many of my citizens are dead. And she's like, but what's annoying is he convinced that one dude to do this, to crash the ship. And Morrow knows this because he saw the video, and he's right there. So she's like, believe me, we are already well into investigating. And he's like, if you think I'm going to let you investigate your own crash, honey, you're crazy. And she's like, I already told you, you'll be more than well compensated for the damage done. He's like, it's not about the money. Honey, I've got money. This is a cover-up. Do you know what she's so desperate to get back? Deep space biological specimens. Yeah, invasive species, predatory that Weyland-Yutani was smuggling onto the planet in direct violation of like 50 intercorporate laws. And she's like, untrue. He's like, oh, do you want to see pictures? And she's like, wait, these are proprietary specimens meant to be studied at an off-planet research facility, which is where they will be transferred to the moment that Mr. Cavalier stops holding them hostage. And the lawyer says, which is why, so she could understand Mr. Cavalier's position, and she says that this is why they're willing to add an additional $10 billion to the settlement for his pain and suffering. And Boy's like, 20. And then she's like, 15. And then he's like, 25. So she's like, 20, it is. And the lawyer asks if they're in agreement. Boy says, yeah, we are. He's like, I'll box them up and send them back as soon as the quarantine's over. And she's like, no. And he's like, yeah, 6 weeks is an established precedent for off-world quarantine. She like leans forward, and then she's like, 50 billion, and we take possession immediately. And he's like, it's just not safe, for the planet. And she's like, they don't belong to you. He's like, well, they're living creatures. Technically, they don't belong to anyone. But what if you have like a dog? You own that dog. It's a living creature. And he's like, okay, I assume we're done here. 20 billion on top of practical damages, and we'll return the specimens at the end of legal quarantine. And of course, your thoughts and prayers for all the victims of the Magonaut crash are always welcome. And then Morrow is just like standing there silently. So I was like, yeah, so no, I think Adam was there. So Kirsch and Adam are just, no one's saying anything. So they leave. And then she calls Morrow over and asks, where are they? He says that he could have one of the xenomorphs by the end of the day. And she's like, could? He's like, it's a recruited assets. It's like, there's a strong potential for failure. Like, they've increased security in the last 24 hours on the island. And he says that they could destabilize the facility and exfil into chaos. So Morrow gets in an elevator. Kirsch was like waiting for him and like stops it from closing. He gets in. They kind of like bigger, banter, whatever, back and forth. And then Morrow asks, how's it feel working for a company that made him obsolete? And Kirsch's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the kids shining in their young bodies. It's like, he's like, I got to get me one of those. And Kirsch is like, a child or a body that isn't so sad. Morrow's like, you know what I like most about killing synths? They don't feel pain. So nothing loads their minds when, I start chopping them up. Kirsch says that he would imagine that it's the pain that makes it satisfying, especially for cyborgs. And then he's like, I'll see you soon, old toy. And, Morrow walks out. Nibs still lies in the tech room. Sylvia says just a few adjustments. So she rewinds some memories, I guess, or something like that. And then Nibs' eyes are open and Wendy's there, asks if she's feeling better. So now they're in I guess in her room, in Nibs' room. And Nibs is like, better than what? She's like, I feel fine. I feel like I slept for 1,000 years though. So Wendy brings up, Nibs said that she was having a baby, and she's like, yeah, right. Like when? Wendy's like, a few days ago. And Nibs like, a few days ago we were in the training room and we had that hike. And Wendy's like, no. It's like, we got back, when we got back from the crash. Nibs like, the what? She's like, stop funning. And Wendy is like, "What's wrong with you? We went into the city, the ship that crashed. We saved people. You found the eye. It scared you." And she's like, "Stop it! I don't have any of that. What's wrong with me?" She's like, "I don't have any of that." And she's asked if she remembers, going to Sylvia and Arthur's after she said she was going to have a baby, and Wendy just like walks out. So then we hear Stupid Boy reading more of the story. We see glimpses of Morrow and Wendy sitting on a cliff thinking. Nibs, we see Joe. And then Slightly is arguing with someone, and then Isaac comes. So Slightly gets testy because Isaac wants to hang out or something like that. Slightly says that he has all this stuff to do, and Isaac kind of like pouts, but then Slightly says that he'll make it up to him. Joe is working on some designs or plans. Then Slightly is behind him. He puts on this big fake smile because he wants to use him to get the egg out, to get the face hugger out or whatever. Joe asks if he knows where Wendy is, and Slightly like, "No, but maybe we could go look for her." And Joe's like, "Nah." And Joe asks him, he's like, "Remind me what your name was before?" And Morrow chimes in his ears, and he tells him that he has to hurry because they don't have much time. And Slightly, like quietly, he's like, "I can't." But Joe thinks he's talking to him. He's like, "Oh, if that's not something you can talk about, I understand." And Morrow's like, "Say it." He's like, "You need to come with me." And in a normal voice, Slightly, he's like, "It's just unfair, But then he continues. He's like, "Wendy gets to see her family, but what do I get?" And Joe looks at him and says, "We will talk to them." He's like, "I promise." And then he's like, Slightly's like, "Hey, can I want to show you something." And Joe's like, "What?" He's like, "It's a secret." And Joe's like, Slightly's like, "Come on, it'll be fun." Then there's a knock, and Rashid comes in. He's like one of the soldiers guys. He tells Joe to patrol the short a man. So does he want to come? And Slightly jumps in. He's like, "No." It's like, "We were just gonna." It's like, "It won't take long." And Joe's like, "We'll talk when I'm back, okay?" And Slightly's like, No. It's like, "We need to go now. It's for Wendy." And Rashid's like, "Sorry, kid, it's my fault. Orders from above. Security issue. We'll bring him back as soon as possible." And in the hall, Rashid asks Joe, "Is like, what the hell is that about?" Joe's like, "I have no idea." And then you see Slightly kind of steps out in the hall and like stares at them because this is his plan. He's supposed to use a human. Out on patrol is like raining. Siberian, the other soldier, she's like, "I'd rather be out here with the bugs, lizards, and slugs." She's like, "There's some freaky stuff in the lab." And Rashid asks if she means the alien monsters or the freaky ass robots having a malfunction. And he like imitates, a malfunction. And then, he realizes, he says sorry to Joe. Siberian Sai, she's like, "Is that really your sister?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I think so. She is to me anyways." Rashid said that he heard Yutani is pissed, sent some of her cyborgs over. That's why they're patrolling. Sai said that they're on an island in the middle of nowhere. There's no way on and off. And Joe asks, he's like, "Are we, far from the mainland, to take a boat?" Then he goes about how his dad took him on a boat when he was young. Sai stops and turns around. She's like, "Stop, whatever you're planning. Asking about boats and how far we are. We have a good thing going here. We're alive. We're getting paid." It's like, "Don't fudge it up." And he's like, "The monsters are here." And she's like, "Maybe, but as long as I'm here, I know where they are." Wendy's in the lab again, making clicking noises at the baby, and it's gotten bigger. Then on a transport, Kirsch calls Isaac and says they should be back shortly. He asks if he's in the lab, but he's not. And he says that the creatures need to be fed and watered, and then check the data from last night and pick the next experiment from the list. And he's like, "And the scientific method is a method. It is not a suggestion. Follow it to the letter." And he's like, "Is Curly with you?" And Isaac lies, and he's like, "No." She's like right there with what was the other guys? Toodles, maybe? And he's like, "Well, I can handle it." And then Isaac tells Curly, no, maybe it's Smee. Isaac tells Curly and Smee that he has to do something for Kirsch. And she's like, "Oh, should I come?" And he's like, "No, I got it." Then we see the sheep is watching. Isaac comes into the lab. He puts food in the sheep's cage. The sheep's like next to or in the cage next to the eye sheep. The food tray door is kind of like stuck. This is for the cocoon thing. So he like pulls on it. He accidentally yanks like the outer door off. So then he goes to the computer. He like opens the door, and then with the tray, he's like holding the door open with his foot. But as he kind of like bends down to put the tray down, the sheep, the eye sheep, the octo sheep, bangs on the glass, and he kind of like jumps and falls over. The door closes behind him, and he's like locked in, and he's also alone because he didn't want Curly. He wanted to do everything on his own. And then out of the cocoon thing, this like kind of giant bug fly thing comes out, and he sees it on the ceiling, and then it flies down onto his arm, and he's tries saying, he's like, oh, good boy, whatever, but then it like flutters and it like spits something like in his face, like on him, and he's like kind of like gagging or whatever, and then he starts like spitting up like white bile, and it's like eating away at his skin, and then 2 bugs are on him now, and it's like, are they feeding? They're just like on his face and like going at him. And then there's more narration from the boy, and then the sheep goes and eats some of its food. Sylvia goes to her room. Wendy's there, and she's like, what did you do to her? And so he's like, who? She's like, Nibs. She doesn't remember half the stuff we did this week, not the crash, the fighting, that she was going to have a baby. And Sylvia's like, it's complicated. And she's like, Wendy, she's like, she was upset. We ran a diagnostic and found a glitch in one of her subroutines. The only way we could get, you could fix it. And Wendy's like, you made her forget. Sylvia's like, we removed the corrupt data before it, I think she says data. We removed the corrupt data before it could corrupt the rest of her. And Wendy's like, that's a funny word, corrupt. And Sylvia's like, it means, she's like, I know what it means. I'm not stupid. It's like, I told him this was a yes place. You didn't give her a choice, did you? And Sylvia's like, I gave her medicine, just like any other doctor. Like, please, Wendy, I have the utmost respect for you, for all of you. And Wendy's like, because we're special? And she's like, of course you are. You have the potential beyond anything we could imagine. You've been going to secure lab a lot lately. Kirsch told me. And Wendy's like, someone has to watch. They didn't ask to come here. And Sylvia's like, well, they're specimens collected by Wayland Yutani. And then Wendy's like, he's studying them. They're experiments to him. And Sylvia's like, this is a research facility filled with scientists. That's, what we do. We study. And she's like you study us? And Sylvia's like, Wendy. And she's like, that's not my name. So then Sylvia's like, Marcy, why don't we sit down? And Marcy, Wendy, she's like, he said, stop pretending. Are we people or are we something else? He said, stop pretending to be people. And I think he's right. She's like, I don't want to be people anymore if this is what people are, killing things just to take them apart and see what's inside. And Sylvia's like, who said that? And she's like, Kirsch. He said that people get romantic about things, feelings, but that we don't have to. But we can get rid of all of that, all the sadness and all the madness, to see the world for what it really is, how it feels. And so he's like, well, he would say that. He's a machine. Marcy, trust me, everything we're doing here, we do for you. My only job is to make sure that nothing gets lost. And she's like, Nibs got lost. And so he's like, no, we helped her. Are we, there are going to be, problems in the transition? Of course, it's new technology. You're on a journey that no one's ever taken before, but we're here. I'm here to help you, to make sure that you get through. But we have to work together, right? You have to tell me what's wrong so I can help you fix it. And then Marcy's like, what if you're what's wrong? And then Wendy leaves. Arthur's packing. Joe comes in and asks him if he's got a second. And he's like, Joe, right? Or do you prefer Hermit? But he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, me, nothing. Just getting out of here. Quick trip. Not like I was fired or anything. And Joe's like, they fired you? Arthur's like, no, yes, don't worry about it. I have like 6 degrees. Sorry, did you want something? And Joe's like, yeah, I noticed how you took care of Wendy, when with her hearing. Anyway, I noticed how you seemed to care. And Arthur's like, yeah, I did. I mean, I do. Joe's like, so maybe I can ask you something and you can give me an honest answer, and then maybe I can just relax a little bit. And Arthur's like, well, most of what we do here is pretty confidential, but I'll answer what I can. So Joe's like, is my sister safe here? And he's like, oh. And Joe's like, be honest, please. So Arthur kind of turns and looks at a camera in the room. And then he's like, of course she is. She's as safe as safe in the bank. And, the missus and me do everything we can. Here, let me show you. I can pull up her vitals right here. And he's like, come here, see? Healthy. But he typed on the computer, take her and get her out. Boat code 102-770. And he's like, and look, here's Wendy's vitals looking totally normal. On the screen, it says run script hybrid _track, hybrid trackers, AV monitors off, YN. Joe looks at Arthur and nods yes. And then Arthur types Y. Then, command to disable trackers. So he's like, that's all the reassurance I can give you. Now, we do everything we can for them. Best care all the time. Joe's like, yeah, that's really all I needed to hear. He's like, thank you. Have a good trip. And he shakes his hand and leaves. And then the screen gives an error. It says hybrid tracker Toodles not connected. And he's like, what? So the computer buzzes, last known location, secure lab. So then there's like some soft chittering, slightly goes to the lab. Kirsch is like watching on a tablet. Slightly stands at the door code. And at first, I was like, is he trying to remember, or is he deciding if he can go through with it? Which I think that's the case. Because then he like crumples on the floor. He's like, I can't do it. He's like, I can't get a person in. Margot's like, sure you can. You're a good boy. Do you want to say goodbye to your mother before she dies? He's like, no, please. I'll try. Just give me one more chance, please. Please don't do anything to her, please, huh? Kumi, can you hear me, huh? Then Arthur walks up, asks if he's heard anything from Toodles, because his tracker's offline. Has he seen him? And he's like, no. And Arthur opens the lab door, and he's like, Kirsch told me to watch his stuff. So, but Kirsch is watching on a tablet. At first I was like, why isn't he doing anything? Kirsch is still on the transport. Slightly goes in the lab, like behind Arthur. He just stands there doing nothing. Inside, Arthur sees Toodles, Isaac's body. He tries opening the door. He goes to the computer, slightly looks at the eggs in the next cage. Arthur gets the door open, goes to the body, slightly opens the egg door. Arthur looks up at the cocoon. He calls us slightly to help him pull Toodles out. But then he sees the egg pod open. It's because it just goes whoosh, opens up, and the door is open too. He looks around the lab. He hears like skittering. He goes to the door. Slightly is like standing there, and the door is like locked outside the lab. And he asks Slightly, he's like, "Can you open it from the outside? I'm locked in." And he says it a second time, and then Slightly's like, "He has my family," and Arthur's like, "What?" And he's like, "I have a family too. I have a family." And there's some loud clattering, something screeches, like runs by, and then the not so baby alien's like watching. The eye and the sheep's watching. Arthur picks up a phone. He tries calling someone. There's more clatter. He gets a hold of someone. He's asked if Dr. Sylvia, and then a facehugger leaps onto his face, and his tail wraps around his throat. Slightly is watching, kind of like semi-horror. He like turns his back, closes his eyes. He sheds a tear. Kirsch is still watching. And then like Boy is like whooping. But then this is where I figured out, I was like, they're still on a transport ship. I was like, why is Kirsch sitting somewhere letting all this bad stuff happen? Boy turns and asks Kirsch, like, is everything okay? And Kirsch is like, yeah. But it's like, how is this okay? Because it's going to add another experiment or something. So Slightly goes in the lab. He whispers Arthur's name, and then the bug in the cocoon like peeks out. So he drags Arthur's body and puts him in a vent. He opens like a big grate. The cocoon bugs like flies out, Slightly goes into the vent and closes it behind him. And then the two doors are still open. The eye sheep just like glares, and then Keep Away by Godsmack plays. So I just wonder, is the sheep like going to be like the hero? Is the eye trying to prevent the aliens from doing evil things or whatever? Because in the lab thing, it was like trying to knock at, on the glass when that one lady doctor, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like there's something more to this eye. That is Alien Earth, episode 6. All right, now Peacemaker, season 2, episode 4. Need I say door? So there's a flashback to Chris and Keith with their dad when they were young. They're hunting, like dad shoots something and something cries out. It's like some creature. I don't know if it was like an imp or what they mentioned. And then one of the kids, I'm not sure which kid was which. I don't know if it was Keith. It might have been Chris. He's like, Dad, don't. And then he shoots it in the head. And it just, whoosh, and then Dad slaps him. He's like, don't you tell me don't, or whatever. And then, I don't know, maybe it was Chris again, sees like this metal like case. It's kind of like a curved, case with like a handle or something like that. but there's like something in the trees where this thing was going. So they walk over and they see an open door to like the portal area. So then we get the opening. I'm still not impressed, and I don't know if it's the song or if it's just they seem just so not into it or whatever. And I did notice that like Fleury is in the opening, and maybe he was last week. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not digging the opening. It's I don't know. The van is driving to Peacemaker's. Economos is like sitting next to Judah Master, and he's like, "What are you looking at?" And then Judah Master's like, "Remember that time you smashed my car with a truck and snuck up behind me and hit me in the head with a tire iron?" And Economos like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "Just curious." And he's like eating like hot Cheetos or something like that. And Economos like, "Yeah, well, it was a great fudging moment." And then Judah Master's like, "Hot take." The Eagle Hunter, Michael Rooker, Red Saint Wild. He's like, "You hit this little Chinaman with a tire iron?" He's like, "I'm Vietnamese, Wild Bill Sukak." I said that a little differently, so it doesn't sound as bad. And he's like, "And yes, he did." And Economos was like, "I wish I killed him. I wish he was sitting there right now, dead." So Judah Master's like, "You wish my corpse was here in front of you?" And he's like, "Yes." "You would carry it around with you everywhere?" And Economos like, "Yeah, because you're small and light, and it's a reminder of my victory." And Judah Master says, "So you torture my loved ones who would have to watch you carry around my dead body?" And Economos like, you're taking it a little too seriously now. And Fleury's like, he's driving. He's like, "Poop, Ginger Cool, you are hardcore." And Economos like, "Hey, fudge you too, a-hole." And he's like, "Aha, Poop." He's like, "GC is a little upset because we're about to go arrest his friend and kill his favorite parrot." And Economos like, "I wasn't going to say anything." But so Bordeaux's in the passenger seat. He's like, "Does Bordeaux know that you were making faces while you were on the phone with her?" And she gives like Fleury a look. And he's like, "I don't know what this man is talking about. I wasn't making a face. Or if I was making a face, then it comes with having a face." And then she turns back. She's like, "What kind of faces?" And Fleury like tries shaking his head like, No. And Economos like, "He winked at me like he had you wrapped around his little fudging finger." And then she gives Fleury like a hard look. She's like, "You winked at him?" And Fleury's like, "No." And Economos like, I'll take a polygraph." She's like, "I don't give a poop." And Fleury's like, "If I did, it was a wink like, hey, we're all in this together." And she's like, "When the fudge does a wink mean we're all in this together?" And he's like, "I'm from Illinois. Maybe it's a Midwestern thing." It's not. "I'm from Illinois. It's not." And then Red, the Eagle Hunter guys, "I spent many years in the hill of Illinois hunting balds, and ain't nobody ever winked at my ass to say we're in this together. And that there's a point for Haggard here." And Economos like, "I don't want you on my side, you fudging psychopath." And St. Wild like, "You judge me for ridding the world of the beaked vermin when you hit a little incapacitated Chinaman?" And he's like, "He just said he was from Vietnam, a-hole." And he's like, "Well, ain't that one of the places Chinamen's come from?" And Judah Master's like, "Question, are you the dumbest runt who's ever existed?" He doesn't say runt. "Or just top 5. And he's like, "That ain't nice at all, son." And Bordeaux's like, "Shut the fudge up, all of you." And this other random, soldier dude back there is like, "Hey, I didn't say anything." And she's like, "Now you did, didn't you?" So it's funny, ha ha ha, but it's just like banter, conversation, whatever. Economos takes his phone out and discreetly holds it aside so he can text Chris. Chris is lying on his bed, and then he sees like a hole in the ceiling, and then another like bullet holes, and he's like, "Jesus!" He notices the room is like trash, hops off the bed. He calls out the Eagly. So outside there's a bunch of armored soldiers gathering. Eagly's at the fridge trying to eat some bologna. And Economos text is like, "Get 6 out of your house immediately," with ends. Argus, all on lowercase. Argus Tagents about to enter because, no E at the end, because of Dimension Piortol, and they gonna kill Eagly, exclamation point. And then LEVE in caps, exclamation point, squiggle, exclamation point. So Chris gets the text, he reads it slow because of typos, and he's like, "What's a Tajan?" So the band crew, they pull up, they're outside. And then Chris is like, this is where he's like, WTF is a Tajan. And he's like, "Oh, wait." So Bordeaux says that, they'll enter the front, Jagger and Klein, wherever they'll
take the back. Fleury will take the left side. Economos and St. Wild to right. So Chris is frantically looking for something in some boxes in a closet. Economos, he's like, well, you said I didn't have to work with Captain Cultural and appropriation or something like that. And she like glares at him. And he's like, fine. Inside Eagly, he's trying to open the fridge again. Chris is like still searching the box, and he finds the big metal thing that he picked up as a kid. He's like, Eagly, we gotta go. But Eagly's like determined to open the fridge. Agents and the others are approaching the house. Chris opens the fridge. He grabs some slices of bologna. He's like, come on, to try to get him to follow. And then agents bust open the front door with those little like block, whatever things. Chris runs out the back with the device. There's like woods behind the house, so they just like run there. St. Wild stops Economos because he sees eagle droppings on the ground. He picks up a piece, puts it in his mouth, which is disgusting, and he kind of like sucks on it, whatever. And Economos is grossed out. And St. Wild's like, 4 days old, hints of cold cuts, tater chips. Chris is running. Judo Master does a bunch of like flips and everything, grabs onto this branch, swings around, and gives Chris like a 2-foot kick in the chest, like knocks him down. The metal device flies out of his hand, and he's like, "Oh, come on!" And he throws like bologna at Judo Master's face. They start fighting, whatever, like that. And Judo Master says something. He's like that he screwed the world once. He won't let him do it again. It's like what he like saved. I don't know. St. Wild sees Eagly, and he laughs because he's flying in the sky. He gets ready to shoot, and he's got his rifle, and he's like trying to get it, locked on him. Economos like looks around because there's other agents like kind of nearby. So how can he stop him without being seen? So St. Wild is about to shoot, then Economos shoves him hard. He goes down, bam, cracks his head on a rock, and he's like, "Oh poop." Chris runs to the metal device. Judo Master comes at him, flips around, ends up on his back, and then he's like putting him in a chokehold. The device, it gets kicked, and so it falls away again. It goes on this hill or something like that. And then Chris like jumps back on his back, like on Judo Master. They tumble down the hill, and then there's this little tiny drop off, and Chris lands smack right on Judo Master's face, like knocks him out. And he's like, "You're like a piece of toilet paper stuck to my shoe. It's like, I just can't pick off." And then he sees the metal device, so he runs to it. Adebayo gets this big envelope delivered into the mail slot. I don't know if she's in her hotel room. I didn't think they have stuff like that, like the mail slot. I don't know. It's this magazine, Pro Soldier, and she's excited. She sees her security consulting ad like towards the back on the bottom of the page, and she's like, "This is fudging cool." And she like takes a picture on her phone, and she starts like texting Kia, like her ex. And she's like, "Pretty sweet, huh?" But before she can hit send, a text from Chris pops up on the screen. 911 PLS, please come pick me up ASAP. And then he shares his location. In the house, Fleury finds a portal door keypad, which I don't know how he found it so easily. And Bordeaux says for someone to get Economos. Economos checks, he's looking at St. Wild, and then he starts to move. He's like, "Oh, thank God." And he's like, "Man, that was insane. It's the craziest thing. Oh my God." And there's like a big splotch of blood like on his forehead. And he's like, "What the hell happened?" He's like, "I came up behind you when you were about to shoot the eagle. And he's like, "Yeah, I remember getting a beat on it, but I can't remember anything after." And Economos like, "And then another eagle. Another eagle?" And he's like, "Yeah, second eagle flew fast and boom, just knocked you over and you slammed into that rock." He's like, No. He's like, "That doesn't make sense, son. I mean, eagles are solitary creatures." And Economos like, "Yeah, that was so weird, right?" He's like, "This could only mean one thing. The eagle I was about to shoot was the primal eagle foretold in the Akama and Meswaki myths." And like all this other blah, blah, blah. One eagle that rules over the others. Like, this is what his life's goal has been. You kill the primal eagle, blah, blah, blah. And, Economos doesn't really buy it, whatever. He's like, it could mean something else besides, you trying to rationalize your crazy desire to kill eagles. And he says some stuff about cultural appropriation, because he said some stuff about like Native American this and whatever. So Chris runs up to Adebayo's car on the side of the road, calls out the eagle. He flies into the back seat. He tells her that they got to go. And she's like, he's like, "I got to move the dimensional portal." She's like, "You got to what?" He's like, "We got to go, please, Ads." And she's like, "What are you wearing?" And he's like, "Ads, fudging go." She's like, okay, where?" And he's like, "Head towards Settlers Hill." And then he calls Adrian, Vigilante, says he needs him to pick up some doors at Lowell's.
Economos goes inside because, Bordeaux wanted to talk to him. He's like, yeah, what do you want? And she's like, what's your problem, Economos? And he's like, who can say? I couldn't possibly upset that I'm teamed up with an insane redneck bird killer and some little kung fu Bulbasaur who once tried to murder me while we tried to arrest my friend. How wacky would that be? And she's like, well, get over it. I'm not getting paid to deal with your poop. And he's like, oh, I think you kind of are. She's like, what? He's like, if you read my dossier, I have social deficiencies that are worth dealing with for all my other talents. So you kind of, explicitly get paid to deal with my poop. And Fleury's like, you are one curmudgeonly mother trucker, Ginger Cool. And then he like spits in his face. It would almost look like he spit something at him. It was like a weird spit. And Fleury's like, WTF? And he kind of was like, I told you not to call me that. He's like, mother trucker. And she's like, back off, Fleury. And he's like, what kind of grown man spits on another? And she's like, is one of your talents that you can hack the lock on this door? He's like, well, if I had my equipment. And she's like, where's your equipment? He's like, it's in the mobile unit. And she's like, outside 20 feet away? And he's like, no. And she's like, no? He's like, it's 30 feet. And she's like, go fudge and get it. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then she turns and winks at Fleury. We're all in this together, right? So she doesn't care that he got spit in the face. Adebayo asks, what does he mean that he has to move to Portal? And Chris says he has to transfer it from his dad's house so they can make it to where they're going in time. And she's like, transfer? And he's like, yeah. It's like, I used this to do it, the casing. He's like, I don't know if I still can. So the metal device. He's like, I was a kid the last time I did it. And she's like, a kid? He's like, yeah, I moved it twice. Once when we found it in the woods to my dad's trailer. I think my dad was afraid it was dangerous. So he had me and Keith do it. And she's like, what a champ. He's like, yeah. And then I did it again, myself when we moved to my dad's house. She's like, your dad didn't make the portal? He's like, no way. And she's like, I thought he was some sort of super genius. And he's like, are you fudging kidding? He had flunked out of 10th grade. This is what I was curious about too. And she's like, so how do you make all the helmets and stuff? And he's like, it's complicated. So there's got to be more to the story that we have to find out. And then he gets a call from Economos from the van. And he's like, yeah? He's like, yeah, you're going to get me arrested. I almost killed a guy while saving Eagly's life. And John's like, what? How? And Economos like, it's not important. He's like, I'm about to go there and pick the lock in that closet door. And Chris is like, Economos, I need you to stall them for a little bit. And he's like, there isn't time. And he has just a little bit, okay? All right? He's like, I'll try. Okay? And this other dude enters the van. He has like shoved the phone in his pocket. Adebayo asks, what's so important about the door? And Chris says 6 months ago when he was messing around there with Eagly, letting him fly around because it's cold outside, he disappeared for a minute and then he goes running after him, yelling, screaming for him. He's like, I find him by a door that's not mine, but he's squawking at it. Then I realize the lock is exactly like mine. And weirder, it's got a rack of Peacemaker helmets next to it. He's like, I don't know why, but I tried my dad's code and it worked. So I went in and she's like, wow. And he's like, my dad was there, alive. And she's like, Chris, this is like after your father died when you saw him. He's like, it's not the same. She's like, those visions, they haunted you. They messed with you. She's like, I was worried, bro. He's like, it's not the same, okay? It's one of the other 99 doorways to other dimensions there. And it leads to a parallel world that's almost exactly like ours, but it's better. It's not just my dad. It's Keith. He's alive. And we're best friends. All three of us, my dad. We fight, crime together. They call us the top trio. And she's like, the top trio? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, this is it. Take a left. So they go down this dirt road, like through some trees. And there's like this old cabin. And he says it was his grandfather's. They used to come up here with his dad when they hunted. Inside Adebayo, she's like, oh, there's fudging spiders everywhere. And she's like, Adrian would love it. Would love this. Chris grabs a door, but it like breaks. So then he goes to this other room. Meanwhile, Economos stands in front of the door while the others everyone's like watching him. He's like, well, there's different ways to crack this code. And Bordeaux's like, well, which way is best? He's like, She's like, you don't know? He's like, I'm trying to think through the various possibilities. And she's like, didn't you hack into the CIA when you were 14? He's like, I did. That's how I got recruited. So she's like, quit stalling. Chris opens the case. There's like some lit up rings. There's like a lever or something in the middle. There's little diodes or whatever. He moves some things. And then there's a part. He's like, well, I'm not sure about this part. Flips this switch and some yellow lights pulse up. He tells Adebayo that maybe she should go outside. And she's like, why? He's like, just do it. He's like, I'll be right behind you.
So Economos is still trying to stall. He has this device, and he's moving slowly. Opens his compartment, and the thing's like cycling through codes. Chris raises this other lever switch, more energy lights. It starts like filling the doorway, like filling it up. Furniture starts moving. He runs out of house, leaves. It's almost like stuff's getting sucked into the portal, the doorway. Economos opens the door. It's like cracked at the cabin. The leaves stop moving, and then boom, big energy blasts out, like knocks Chris and Adebayo back. They fly a bit. Bordeaux goes to the door. She like yanks on it, but it's like kind of stuck. She pulls it, gets it open, and she's like, "What the fudge?" It's just a regular closet, and you can see Economos. He's kind of like relieved. Chris and Adebayo are groaning in pain, and she asks if it did what he wanted to do. He's like, "Maybe." Then they go inside. They see the portal room. Rick Flag gets a call from Bordeaux. She tells him that there's nothing, and Rick's like, "Why would he have a lock on that for a closet of old sweaters?" Then he calls out to the secretary. He's like, "Get me an address on Amelia Harcourt." Harcourt's like in the middle of another fight in the back alley. There's like a slow motion shot of this guy losing like 3 teeth when she punches him, whatever. Then it cuts to her place. She's got blood in her mouth. She's like looking in the mirror. Her doorbell rings. It's Rick Flag. So she's kind of surprised. She kind of composes herself a little bit, and she opens the door, and he's like, "Hey, kid," and she's like, "General." He's like, "Oh, you don't have to call me that. You know that. It's Rick." He's like, "Can I come in?" And she asks, "How is she doing?" And she asks, "How is he doing?" Whatever, heard that he was injured. He says something about his back was broke. And he looks around, because she's asked if he wants some coffee. He sees a picture of like her and the crew in the van. And then he asks if she remembers what she said after the funeral. And she's like, "At the end of the day, Smith killed your son because Waller ordered him to." And Rick's like, "Yeah, me and Hokolastan, you and Ricky and Cordo Maltese, we all defied Waller's orders when she went too far." And Harcourt's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm not judging you. I'm sure you miss Ricky too." And she's like, "I can't imagine you flew across the country to talk about your son, General." He's like, "No. So, you have been black booked?" And she like nods. And she's like, "Yeah, I was fairly certain that was the case." And he's like, "It is." And she's like, "Waller did it?" He's like, "Mm-hmm." On her way out the door, "Yeah." She's like, "So I can't be hired by any of the intelligence agencies for the rest of my life?" He's like, "That's what it means, yeah." And she's like, "That is fudging BS, to be honest, General." He's like, "I know." She's like, "I was one of among 5 agents who eradicated an alien threat, saving countless lives. I nearly lost my life in the process. I had nothing to do with Amanda Waller's daughter, outing her on national TV. Had Agent Adebayo asked my advice, I would have strongly advised against it and offered her potential solutions for keeping Agent Smith out of prison. So I have no fudging idea why I'm the one being black booked here." And he's like, "Well, Waller, kid. Woman can hold a grudge. She needed to blame someone for corrupting her daughter, and rightly or wrongly, it fell on you." So Harcourt's like, "So my 18 years of service to my country means fudging nothing?" And he's like, "Don't tell me you're in this for the accolades." She's like, "Accolades I can live without. I'd rather not do without my utilities, which are about to be shut off." And he's like, "That's why I'm here. I'm thinking there may be a way for you to get back into good graces of the U.S. government." And she's like, "Anything." He's like, "You have to bring us Peacemaker," which is like, I doubt this is Rick Flag's a piece of crap because Peacemaker killed his son, so he's using this as an excuse. Chris and Adebayo stare at the portal room. She mentions that her ad just came out and pro soldiers, and she's just waiting for the calls to start rolling in. And he's like, "Ads?" He's like, "Pro soldiers a scam." And she's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, nobody reads it. They make all their money off wannabe mercenaries, buying their advertising." And she's like, "How many copies they sell?" He's like, "I don't know, like 12." And she's like, "1,000?" He's like, "No." And she's like, 1,200? He's like, "Nope." He's like, "You see where this is going?" And she's like, "Fudge." He's like, "Yeah, 12." He's like, "I know all the guys who read it, and they're not just hiring anybody. They're just watching the Game Show Network, collecting their urine in jars, posting on psoriasis Reddit threads." And she's like, I get it. He's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And then she's like, "Is there a you in there?" And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "You say that you're your dad, your brother, but is there a you in there?" And he's like, "I got kind of fudged up." And she's like, "How?" He's like, "Well, I didn't mean to, And she's like, "Mean to what?" He's like, "Kill him." It's like, "You killed your own self from a parallel dimension?" He mentions that I guess he saw him like looking at a picture of him and Amelia in love, and she's dating Rick Flag Jr., who's still alive, but she's really still in love with him. And she's like, Rick Flag Jr. is in love with you? And he's like, no, Harcourt. And she's like, this is like some Twilight Zone poop. And she says that maybe it's just messing with his mind. It's not real. It's giving him what he wants. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's real. And then she says, he's like, you're not thinking of going back? He's like, well, I have to. He's like, one, it's my brother. Losing him as a kid was the worst moment of my life. Now he's going to lose me? And she's like, he already did lose his brother when you killed him. And he's like, well, you don't understand. He mentions that Harcourt there is waiting for an answer, and if he wants to, start their relationship again or whatever. And he's like, the other one cheated on her. Adebayo's like, yeah, but she thinks you're someone else. And Chris says, but they have the same DNA. He's like, I passed the eye test. And she's like, what's the eye test? And he's like, explains that, whatever. But then he's like, he's kind of like me, but more of a Richard. And he dresses worse. And she's like, I find that hard to believe. And he's like, well, look at what I'm wearing. And she's like, you're wearing his clothes? And he's like, you think I bought this? And she's like, well, no matter how green the grass over there, their biggest problems in life are the ones that they carry within themselves. So everything else evens out. And she's like, this is where God put him, so he belongs here. And Chris is like, well, maybe I don't. And she's like, why? He's like, well, maybe the universe fudged up, maybe I belong in there and my a-hole doppelganger belongs here. But some cosmic occurrence switched us, so I end up in a dark dimension where I can't catch a fudging break, and he ends up in the land of goodness and light with a brother who's still alive and a father who loves him and a good us where I'm a fudging hero. And she's like, it don't feel right, Chris. And then Adrian arrives, but then he's so surprised out of bio. He thought it was just gonna be Chris there. So Chris goes to check on if any of the doors will fit, and outside he texts Harcourt. He's like, hey, and she's like, what's up? He's like, we need to meet. And there's like siren emoji. And she's like, she's like, fuck. She's like trying not to curse. And then she types copacetic and where? And he's like, Cooperberg Park at Hartland, Vermont. So Chris tells Adrian, he's like, I need to borrow your ride. And he's like, why? He's like, to go see Harcourt. And Adrian, he actually is like, is that safe? So, which is good thinking. And he's like, I need her to answer a question before I know what to do next. So outside Harcourt, Rick says, take Economo's phone because he doesn't trust him. He's like, somebody watching. Harcourt's like walks out of the building, whatever. And Flag asks her if she found anything out, just because this is her one shot at getting back in the good graces of Argus. And she's like, this is BS. And she's like, I don't deserve this, and neither does he. So she's like, I'm going to meet him now. And then she tells him where. And she's like, I'll keep him occupied and distracted, and then you come in. And it better be more than just these two bozos. And she was referring to Fleury and Bordeaux. Bordeaux's like, these what? Harcourt's like, you're not taking the Peacemaker down alone. And he's like, we'll have everyone there. And then he's like, you're doing the right thing, Amelia. She's like, I know I am. And then Flag walks away from her car. Economos just like kind of glares at her from a little ways off, and he turns his back on her. In the woods, Red Saint Wild strips down his loincloth, starts dancing around the fire, takes some blood from his forehead. He draws like an eagle symbol in the dirt. He places a feather on top, and then blue flames kind of rise around him. And so it's like, wait, does he actually have powers or something? And then the symbol appears on his forehead, and his mind flies about the skies, and he sees Eagly. Eagly flies down to the cabin. He's like, Settlers Hill, I got your mother trucker. Chris drives in Adrian's car. Judah Master comes out of the woods, like sees him drive by. I don't know what that's going to do because he got knocked out, whatever. Harcourt's sitting on a bench. I think the others are kind of standing around the park, like acting, like trying to blend in or whatever. And then that's the end of the episode. But then there's the end scene, the extended scene. It's the eagle dropping scene. Saint Wild goes on about all the different foods that he can taste, and he's just going on. And John's like, you can't taste all that. And then Red's like, this eagle eats better than I do. And that's the end of the episode. So it's just like, okay. So I mean, it was kind of silly at the end, but that was fine. It was It was good. Like I said, a lot of big things happening. I don't know what Peacemaker is going to think when he finds out that she kind of is setting him up. I mean, obviously he's going to have to get away, but yeah. So we'll see what happens next. That's Peacemaker. All right, now the movie feature is A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. This was an interesting movie. I am going to start off with the Rotten Tomatoes because I don't agree with this necessarily. So it's Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell, great actors. It's gotten lower. So it's still kind of a little slightly early in the weekend. I don't have a popcorn meter score. The critic score is 38%. That is ridiculous. I guarantee you, I don't know how much higher, the popcorn score, the audience score is going to be higher than that. I don't know why we don't have, it stinks that it's not ready yet. Because looking at like the audience scores, there's some people, there's like a 3 out of 5, a 4.5 out of 5, half out of 5, 4 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 2 out of 5. So 4.5 out of 5. So they're kind of all over the place. 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 1 out of 5. Critics didn't like it. And I don't really know what the movie's about. Without trying to give away too much. Colin Farrell he has to go to a wedding, blah, blah, blah. For some reason, he has to go rent a car. And there's this place, it's like some weird car rental place. And they really like sell him on getting a GPS because they're like, in case his phone craps out, whatever. Goes to the wedding, he's going alone. And like his mom and dad, he talks to him on the phone and, like, you're going alone, whatever. So he goes there and Margot Robbie's there. And, she's alone. So then after a bit, he's like outside smoking a cigarette and they meet, they kind of talk and there's some slight flirting or whatever. But she's like, she says that, he's trying too hard to be like charming. And then she's like, oh, I'm just going to hurt you or whatever. It's like, are you chasing me type of thing. And then they kind of go, she's like, well, I'm going to go and dance. And he's like, well, I don't dance. And she's like, are you sure? And then she goes in. He sees her dancing with some other guy or whatever. So it's like he kind of missed his chance. Leaves the next day. But then as he's driving, and she's driving home too, like the GPS goes, because she's got in a rental car too. Same GPS, whatever. So it's like, do you want to go on a big, bold, beautiful journey? And he's just like, so whatever. He's like, yes. So then it's like, okay, drive to the destination, whatever, take this, blah, 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 take this exit. And it's like, first thing, go eat a fast food burger. And when he's there, it was like Burger King, and a couple tables away, Margot Robbie's there. So then they sit together and they talk. So they end up driving together. Her car doesn't start. I know I'm giving away too much, but this is how they end up together. They're on this journey, and the car tells them to go to this destination. There's a door in the middle of the field. They decide to check it out, and the door goes into like a memory. And at first, this is one of the problems because it's like they're not even freaked out about it because they end up going. I think the first one they go into one of he went to this like lighthouse. I think it was in Washington or something like that. And they're not afraid, like, holy crap, what's going on? How did we get here? But it's like not, because after she's like, did we really just do that? So that was a little weird how easily they accepted it. And then they go to next destination. There's another memory and so forth. So the gist of the movie, I mean, it's kind of like a romance thing where, are they going to get together? But obviously they both have a lot of why are they still alone, single at this point? And she keeps saying how, she's like really down on herself. She's like, I'm horrible. I'm just going to hurting you, or you're going to hurt me, and all this stuff like that. But they're really getting to know each other. And then as they see each other's memories, they go in together, they're learning more about each other. And so obviously they're probably going to start falling for each other, but they're still pushing each other apart and everything like that. So all that, that's kind of, I think that's a really cool concept and everything. The problem is the way the pacing in a movie, sometimes it's sort of random, and when they go through some of the doors, sometimes it just really slows down, and I could see how critics aren't going to like that. They're going to complain about that, of course, because critics will just complain about everything, because I don't know if they need something to complain about or look whatever. And there was this one part that for me felt really weird, where the way they were talking, and they're like in this empty room, so they weren't really, it's like, then they kind of appear somewhere, but they didn't go through a door. They're like in this, can't really explain it, but it's like then the way they're kind of talking, it's almost like they're like on a stage, like it's a stage performance. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but watching a movie and watching a stage performance, two different things. Because when you're a stage performance, you kind of talk more to the audience. You kind of have to explain more because you have to explain, you're limited on the stage with what is around you versus a movie, they can actually go this place or this, whatever. So there, at some points, the way they're great actors, but some of their delivery, which I'm assuming is the direction, and it's just, it felt a little off, a little weird. I don't know. The director is Park Jun-yoon, which is professionally known as Kogango. I don't know what else. Let's see. He did Pachinko TV series, 2 episodes of Acolyte, movies Columbus After Yang. So I'm just a knucklehead. I don't really know much like how well known, if this is like his style or something like that. But it was a little weird at times. But like I said, I thought it was kind of cool in a way, but it was just kind of weird. And I kind of liked it. Some parts kind of hit closer to home to me. So there's a thing, I feel like some people are going to like this more than others. There's going to be some people that are like super skeptical. Like what I remember, I think it was like Hollywood Reporter, I called them out, I saw this on Instagram, and they're complaining, like one of the things they complain about, they're like, what kind of, or who would say, I booked a reservation at your favorite restaurant? And they're saying no one talks like that. But it's like so stupid because this was in a memory. This was a character that we didn't know, and he's saying that. So if he said, I booked a reservation at Chili's or something like that, that doesn't tell us, the audience, that it's it's her favorite restaurant. But by saying I booked a reservation at your favorite restaurant, that means more. And I don't see why some people wouldn't talk like that. That totally makes sense. You could say, hey, we're going to your favorite place, and then you really, we're going to Chili's, and it's like, no, we're going to Olive Garden. I thought Olive Garden, whatever. So it just drives me nuts. And I was having this conversation, during lunch with a coworker, where I just feel like sometimes critics, and I'm not, obviously I can't speak for all critics, and I don't read reviews often, like very little. The most I do is just reading the little snippets on Rotten Tomato. But I feel like sometimes I watch a movie, and usually after I watch a movie, I'll check out the Rotten Tomato score out of curiosity, and I'll see like what some of the critics say. And I don't know a lot of these critics, whatever, because I don't read reviews. But sometimes it's like, are you serious? It's like, you just need to relax a little bit. It's a friggin' movie. It's a piece of entertainment. It's not like it's a formula to change the world and gonna end like hunger or cancer or what. But it's just like some people just get so uptight. And part, I felt it's like a little bit of this, like when I was writing reviews on GameSpot, I'm like, hey, we're writing a review on a video game website. Yes, we have a lot of writers and everything, but I don't think we need to get like uber technical and this and that. I mean, for me personally, and I may not be the norm, just give me some boom, boom, boom. Give me some bullet points. I don't need to read this big, long thing. I don't need to read a review that's going to take me as long as it would to, watch half the movie or whatever. I just need to know. And there's because sometimes reviews get spoilery already. So it's like you're going to read all this stuff before, like, oh, this character does this, that doesn't. It's like, no, you're going to ruin the movie. I don't know. And I know some people really want reviews to know, but yeah. So I enjoyed the movie. I like I said, they're great actors, some cool moments. Some parts, like I said, the pacing was a little weird, a little slow, but my goodness, it's something. This is the fact that it's something different, because we have so many movies that are just the same thing over and over again. So it's like, why wouldn't you want something different? Something that takes a chance that kind of breaks the formula up. This doesn't just do the same thing over and over again. So I just don't understand why some people are just so bitter. And I don't know how it's going to do. Let's see, it's. Not good. The budget was $45 million, and it looks like the Thursday night was $400,000. It's projected to make 8 to 10 million opening weekend. That's not great. I don't know how these movies work and how you make your money back or anything like that, but I thought it was a cool movie. Would I see it again anytime soon? I don't know, because like I said, I think I liked it more for different reasons. And some people might, I think you have to have an open mind. I think you need to kind of go into it with a certain mindset and just kind of sit back and enjoy it. I don't know. It just, I did not think it was like a 30, what did I say it was? 30, what was it? 38%. That is crazy. Yeah. Because like, okay, audience reviews, the kind of movie that makes you love life again. Then someone else, a 3 out of 5 says too long and drawn out. The trailer had a lot of humor in it, but the film was actually dark, which is kind of interesting. You know, it's supposed to be a love story, but it's not like super upbeat at all. You know, there are lots of dark moments in it, and I think that is a good message as well, because that's what life is. Life has a lot of dark moments, has some upbeat stuff. Yeah. Creative script and story, but too slow on the pace and fell short of the hype for me. Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell are awesome in this movie. Whoever wrote the screenplay should be praised for making people think about choices, mistakes, phobias, and some other stuff. So, yeah, I say I enjoyed it. The more I think about it, it's like maybe I do want to see it again. I don't know. So it's just unfortunate because, you know, when I think something is kind of decent, I don't want it to be a failure, but, you know, people are going to do what they're going to do. But I saw like one review, I was looking up, because there's this one song, it's, you know, Let My Love Open a Door, Pete Townsend, and it's in the credits, like it's like some woman singing. I was like, oh, that's kind of like a nice, pretty version of the song, and I love cover songs. So I was like looking up like who sings the song, and with like one of the first things that comes up, some reviewer, I don't know what it was, it's like, don't go see this movie. The star power isn't enough. And it's like, to tell someone not to see it. It's like, how dare you? Who are you to tell someone not to see a movie? You're writing a review. You can say, I didn't like this. But that, and the other thing, that review about the favorite restaurant, it was on Instagram. I'm reading the comment, and I think people actually read the review. I didn't click on it. And some people are like, this person should not have watched this movie. They shouldn't have reviewed it. They're, you know, so skeptical and this and that. So it was funny, all these people like calling this person out or whatever. And that's the thing. Don't rely on reviews. I did reviews for, you know, that was my job at one point. I'm kind of doing reviews here, but I am not, I'm telling you my opinion. You may agree, you may not agree. So I'm not saying that just because I liked something, it's a 38%. Obviously, I'm in the minority with this, but I think some people will like it. Evidently, people do like this, you know, according to the audience reviews. So that's the main thing. You know, don't rely, I'm not saying boycott reviews and have people lose their jobs. No, but just, it should not be like the end all like decision making. It's just, it seems weird. I think these movies should be enjoyed and not like, I think some reviewers just have to overanalyze things, and that's unfortunate. And that's when I did not enjoy writing movie reviews, because what was like expected for me wasn't what I would want personally, and it wasn't like something that I would do like at that level. It just, I don't know, it seemed not I don't want to say pretentious, but it kind of like you're trying to do this. Yeah. So I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think it's an interesting movie with some good performances, great message. Not is a little clunky, but I could overlook that. And yeah, so yeah, that's all I say. I enjoyed it. You make your decision. I would love to hear what you thought. Did you hate it or did you like it? Was it okay? So I hope you give it a chance, because movies should be seen, and you know, not all of them are going to be great, and you know, the ones that aren't good just makes the next movie better. I don't know. So that is going to be it. That is Big Bold Beautiful Journey. You should see it. That is this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this journey. Thank you for listening. And big thanks to Andrew Loken, because he is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. We're talking about Hobgoblin. We're going to do more Hobgoblin. Hope you're okay with that. But if you can't, I'm just going to cut this short. If you can't commit to monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. It's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. If I had more support, I wouldn't have to do this all the time. So next week, obviously we're going to have Peacemaker, Alien, Earth, Twisted Metal. No Dexter, because that's over. Let's see, maybe Marvel Zombies. I mean, I'm not going to do all 4 episodes, I'll tell you that. Maybe 1 episode to see how it is. I don't know, or maybe I just cut it down and try to give myself a chance to catch up. The movie, I am excited for this, and I know other people don't care. The Strangers Chapter 2. I enjoyed the first one. A lot of people apparently did not. I don't understand why people hated it so much. I thought it was interesting. It was definitely better than like 2 or 3, the other ones that whatever. And I'm really curious that this is a story that is being, drawn out. And I'm a fan of Madeline Petsch, Cheryl Blossom from Riverdale. I think she is hilarious. She's amazing. And I'm super excited to see this. I know I'm probably going to be in the minority. I hope people can just chill out and just not be so uptight about whatever. So that is going to be next week. I hope you are chilling out and not being so uptight, and I hope you are able not to be uptight. Does that make sense? I hope everything is going okay. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're able to do fun things, and I hope you remember to be good to each other.